If the populations aren't large enough to support their operation,
Taken on matters raised under public comment, and the matter itself has been included on an agenda as an action item. So there's a 3-minute time limit per person. Speakers are requested to limit comments to items not on the agenda.
Karen Waldman, WALDMAN. I'd like to share a conversation I had with someone recently about the overall feeling that Pahrump may talk a big game about wanting businesses to come here, but in reality, it seems that in many cases, businesses that we need are being priced out of opening. For example, when the cost to pave a parking lot for a business is more than what the business costs, how does that make sense? I understand there are all kinds of variables, but where is the common sense? Are we turning away businesses because some of the pricing of the regulations isn't affordable? I'm not talking about big businesses, but the mom and pop operations that certainly don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend to get up and running and meet all of the requirements. Rural communities thrive on small businesses, and in spite of all the zoning we have here for commercial operations, it certainly seems it's getting extraordinarily expensive to open a small business, such as a hair salon or restaurant, on land that's not already established in a shopping center. Our poof dirt is problematic for paving, but it also seems cost prohibitive to put in regulations that triple the cost of paving with regulations that existing parking lots didn't have to do, and that most of them seem to still be in decent shape. We know that big businesses do a lot of research before they open in a city. If the populations aren't large enough to support their operations, they won't even consider a location. Because of that, we rely heavily on small businesses to provide services and goods. Please think about some of these regulations that are becoming part of the compliance requirements. We need businesses to see Pahrump as business friendly, and I'm requesting this to be part of the public record. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waldman. Do we have any other public comment?
I have no additional callers on the phone.
Thank you. So, for possible action, approval of the minutes of the... Oh, thank you for the reminder, John. Public comment is now closed. We'll move on to approval of the minutes. Possible action, the Pahrump Regional Planning Commission meeting of December 11th, 2024.
Celeste Sandoval for the record. Commissioner Lee did submit some minor typographical errors to staff, and they have no bearing on the minutes.
Are there any other comments on the minutes?
Just one, if I may. This is Deborah Hayden. I just wanted to say that I am listed in attendance, but regrettably I was not in attendance last month.
So noted. Thank you, Commissioner Hayden. So, any other comments on the minutes?
Chair, I move that we accept the minutes with the minor edits, and also what Commissioner Hayden mentioned as well.
Second.
I have to open public comment on the minutes before you can make that motion, so can you hold it for a moment? So, do we have any public comment on the minutes?
I have no comments on the phone.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. And we have a motion and a second for approval with the corrections. I'll ask for the motion starting with Commissioner Bohannon.
Aye.
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 Would that be me last? Aye. Or I abstain, I should say. I apologize.
Thank you very much. For possible action, approval of or modifications to the agenda. Staff?
Thank you, Chair. Staff has no changes to the agenda tonight.
Do we have any public comment on our agenda?
I have no comments on the phone.
And seeing none in the chambers, we'll close public comment. And we're ready for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
I'll second.
Call for the question, starting with Commissioner Simonek.
Aye.
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 Bohannon's aye.
Aye from Deborah Hayden.
Motion carries. Moving on to correspondence and announcements. Do we have any correspondence or announcements tonight? Seeing none, I will move us on to Commission Committee Director reports, starting with our new BOCC liaison, Commissioner Strickland.
I have nothing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Moving on to our Director's report.
So the director's report for the month of December, total applications received 187, which is 59 more than last month. Total applications processed 73, and that's 17 more than last month. Building permits for December, single-family residential, 21, that's 1 more than last month. Multifamily permits 0, which is 3 less than last month. Commercial permits 8, and that's 2 more than last month. Total permits issued all categories 126, which is 11 more than last month. And total inspections all categories 305, which is 39 less than last month. For code compliance for December, new complaints 36, which is 7 more than last month. And then cases closed 6, and that's 18 less than last month. Update on previous items heard by the Planning Commission. We had ZCMP 2412. ZCMP 2412, which was a master plan amendment to change 9.97 acres from rural density residential to business industrial area. That was to allow for the expansion of a gravel pit at 1870 East Blosser Ranch Road. That was heard by the Planning Commission on October 2nd and was recommended for approval. And that was heard by that was on the BOCC agenda for December 17th. The applicant requested a continuation to the February 19th BOCC meeting. And then also there was a zone change along with that item from rural homestead to have the expansion of the gravel pit. And that also will be February 19th BOCC meeting. With ZCMP 2417, which was a master plan amendment to change 1.2 acres from rural density residential to community development area. That was to allow the expansion of the Rent-A-Go facility at 5800 Gamebird Road. That was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, and that item has been continued at the request of the applicant to the February 19th BOCC agenda. And then there was also ZCMP 2416, which was the zone change from RE1 to general commercial for that same property, the Rent-A-Go business. And that also will be February 19th BOCC agenda. And ZCMP 2421 was a zone change from light industrial to heavy industrial for a propane distribution business at 2090 East Basin Avenue. That was heard by the Planning Commission on December 11th, was recommended for approval, and that application will be heard by the BOCC at their January 22nd agenda meeting. And then ZCMP 2420, which was a master plan amendment for 9.9 acres of a 55-acre parcel from rural density residential to rural development area. to allow an RV park at 600 South Leslie Street. There was also a zone change with that for 9.9 acres from RE1 zoning to neighborhood commercial to allow the RV park. Both of those items will be heard by the Board of County Commissioners at their January 22nd meeting. That concludes the report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Osborne. At this time, I'm going to open up the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee.
Can I ask a question of Director Osborne?
Absolutely.
Can we have an accounting of the number of non-compliant properties in Pahrump Regional Planning Commission at the next meeting so that we could possibly address further action on the non-compliant properties? Because I understand it's quite a few.
You're talking about the total number of...
Total number of non-compliant properties currently on the books.
So the current code compliance cases that we have.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Sure, we can get that.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, now we'll sit as the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee. And for that, for possible action, we have our annual election of officers. With that, I would like to nominate Beth Lee to continue as chair.
I'll second that.
And Beth agreed when she told me she wasn't going to make this meeting. So I'm not throwing her under the bus. So we have a motion and a second. We'll vote starting with Commissioner Bohannon.
Should we have?
Excuse me, Chair, a public comment?
I didn't know that we
Have
had
a
public comment on officers.
This is an action item. It's a for possible action.
Absolutely. We'll open it up for public comment.
Thank you, Chair.
I have no comments on the phone.
And seeing none in the chambers, I'll turn the vote over to Commissioner Bohannon.
Bohannon's aye.
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 Aye, from Hayden.
Congratulations, Beth Lee, in your absence. You are now Chair of the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee. We need a nomination for Vice Chair.
I'd like to nominate you as the vice chair again.
I'll second that.
I was just about to say, let's see if you get a second. Let's open that up for public comment.
I have no comments on the phone.
And seeing none in the chambers, we'll move to the vote, starting with Commissioner Simonik.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain on that.
Aye.
Bohannon's aye.
Hayden is aye.
Thank you. Now we'll go back to our regular agenda items as the Regional Planning Commission, starting with a presentation by BEC Environmental Incorporated on the Community Source Water Protection Plan.
Hello, can you hear me? Perfect. So my name is Ethan Mason, M-A-S-O-N. I'm with the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection, Source Water Protection, and we're in the Bureau of Safe Drinking Water. So I manage this program, and with me today I have Allison Kramer and Evan D. Sievert, and they're from RCI and Beck Environmental, respectively. And so today we're here to give you a little bit of information about this program that's been going on in the state of Nevada for over 20 years and has helped a lot of public water systems. And we wanted to provide you guys some information, as even though we work with public water systems, this is a good opportunity for those public water systems to have additional opportunities to impact their community and get the resources they need. And so what is Nevada's Integrated Source Water Protection Program? This is a voluntary approach to source water protection and watershed planning, as well as water quality. So we're really focused on giving the best opportunity to our public water systems to address water quality concerns in their areas. And ultimately, this is a non-regulatory, voluntary program There's no regulations behind it. It is up to the water systems to reach out and be a part of this planning process. And so we've had opportunities with around the state for public water systems to be a part of this. And we usually go county by county and work with them in order to ensure that they have the opportunity to have additional resources from the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection. And so where does source water protection come from and how are we funded? We're funded through drinking water set-asides down from the EPA and the state of Nevada. And so this is a no-cost program to the public as well as the water systems. And it's just one part of how we address water quality concerns in the state of Nevada. Other programs such as 319, non-point source, or the Watershed Control Group and Wellhead Protection Program all also address water quality. But this is just one piece that looks at addressing it ahead of others in order to make sure that your water quality is the highest level it can be. And then some things about this program, because there are limitations based on the grant funding. We do not deal with water rights, primarily because there are other agencies at NDEP that deal with water rights. And so we focus primarily on water quality to allow our public water systems to also deal with agencies that have more authority in the matter to deal with water rights. We don't deal with pre-existing conditions such as corrective actions, arsenic. They have a lot of support as well as regulations around them. And so we also do not deal with private wells or individual wells in this case, or improvement projects or funding for any of those items above. But there are a lot of things we are able to fund, and as well, we believe that it's worth the time to actually prevent contamination over repairing the contamination that we do find in many cases. Some new things about the program is we do address a lot of emerging contaminants based on bill funding. Up there is a lot of different points about things that we're able to accomplish through this program. One of the main things, that top point, source water protection plan development and updates. And that'll lead on to our next slides. But what's important here is that there are a lot of emerging contaminants that the EPA comes out with that have possible health advisory limits or risks associated with the public. And we want to take progressive steps in order to make sure that those are identified and aware to the community. That way we can hopefully provide more funding and options to these water systems to address them before they become major concerns in the community. Just a little bit more about the state's role. I'm the Source Water Protection Coordinator for the state of Nevada, so I manage the state's program as well as provide a lot of information to other programs at NDEP, both at the federal level and the state level, in order to ensure that we're meeting both program goals and other program goals in order to leverage funding for different projects. I contracted with RCI, Resource Concepts Inc., in order to ensure that we have a technical assistance provider that provides a lot of advisory level information to public water systems, as well as plan development and implementation at no cost to the public. And then they also have a subcontractor, Beck Environmental, that does similar actions down here in Nye County and Southern Nevada in order to ensure that these plans go forward. Up here on the screen, you can also see a map of different communities that have source water protection planning. Across the state of Nevada, there's a bunch of plans. These have been going on for the last decade as source water protection plans. Previous to that, they were known as wellhead protection plans. You'll notice one of them up there is Nye County. Nye County has a 2012 source water protection plan, and that plan is currently in use and being implemented. But you might be asking, why are we back here today if you guys already have a plan? Well, ultimately, the next slide will explain that a little bit. We were asked by the public water system to come and be a part of the planning process again, because this plan at this point is over 10 years old, and things change. Your water systems change, new wells can be drilled, new sources of contamination can be found, or ultimately your population grows and you need to just reevaluate how you pump and how you look at your watershed and your water models. And so we were asked by the Nye County Water District back in January of last year when we'd have time to come and update this plan. And so we've been working with the Nye County and a lot of the water systems here in order to ensure that they have a voice in how their water is used, as well as just a non-regulatory approach to look at the possible contamination to their well sites. And so this has been an ongoing effort, and we wanted to come and give you guys more information about what we do and how we do it. And I will be followed by Allison Kramer from Resource Concepts, Inc.
Hello. So for the record, my name's Allison Kramer, Kramer. So as Ethan stated, you all have this wonderful source water protection plan from 2012. You were actually one of the first counties in the state to do a countywide source water protection plan. So you should be really proud of that. It's really well written plan, and it's divided up into 9 different areas. And Evandy will talk a little bit about the overwhelming great participation that we've been getting from each one of these areas. So it's really exciting. But there's a couple different things that we can do as we move through the source water protection plan update is plan implementation. So if you take the time, if you haven't already, to read your plan and you see something in there that you want to ask technical assistance from Ethan, so you can request that. Say, hey, we actually really want to do this like next week. Let Ethan know, and we can implement your plan at the same time that we're updating it. So I just want to really highlight for you some of the source water protection achievements that we have seen in Nye County throughout the years. So really, when we think about drinking water quality protection, you all do a really great job at protecting your drinking water supply. You have a solid waste management plan, household hazardous waste management plan. Emergency management is part of this update. We've been coordinating with them. They're ready to participate. You have all kinds of educational links and materials for that waste management plan on websites. Having to use motor oil programs throughout all the big areas and communities in Nye County is huge. We don't see that a lot everywhere, so you should also be very proud of that. And prescription drug drop-off locations, that's also drinking water quality protection, right? Giving folks an opportunity to actually drop off their drugs and dispose of them properly instead of, putting them down the toilet. It's really a huge achievement. And in the Pahrump Regional Planning Master Plan, we always love to see when folks reference their community source water protection plan. And so when we saw this, we were very excited. So we just wanted to point that out and highlight. And thank you all for supporting this plan and supporting your public water systems and protecting drinking water quality. The Town of Beatty Area Plan, they also mentioned the Source Water Protection Plan in their plan, and there are lots of other achievements throughout Nye County. I could just go on and on and on, but you don't want me to stand up here for 20 minutes and talk at you about that. So another thing, we love to see all your planned land use and your zoning on your website. It's all available for folks to see. Where's the industry? Where's rural? Where are the commercial facilities going to be moving in? You talk about water quality on your website and, how important it is, because we depend on this water for our drinking water, right? And it's up to all of us to take care of it. And engagement and community education is kind of that very first step. And then if you have not taken a look at your source water protection plan in a really long time, you can always email me or Evandy or Ethan, but you can also go onto the Nye County Water District website, and there is a link provided for you there where you can take a look at that plan. And if you do have time to review it as we move through this update, we want all of the input we can get. This is really your plan. It doesn't live with the state. It doesn't live with us. And I want to hear from you. As I update this plan, I want to make sure everything that you want in it is in there, and I want to make sure that it's a living document for you and that it's useful. So how do we do that? How do we make all that happen? So yeah, RCI provides kind of free technical assistance to you as a county, community, all your stakeholders, and all your public water systems. We've subcontracted with Beck, who works a lot here in Nye County, and they actually developed the 2012 Source Water Protection Plan with you all. And we can't fund everything, but if there is a project that you want to do that has a drinking water quality nexus, let us know, give us a call, because if we can't directly fund it, we can leverage other programs to help you fund that. And then, one of our biggest things that we love to do is really get community and the public engaged in this process. And I'll kind of let Evan D. talk about the different roles for RCI and Beck.
Hi, everyone. I'm Evan D. Sievert, S-E-V-E-R-T, for the record. So I want to first talk and highlight the differences between RCI and Beck and what our involvement is with this program. So as Ali stated, RCI is the prime contractor and Beck is the subcontractor. So RCI will be helping with the technical assistance for this program. What that's going to look like is doing some of the modeling, potential contaminant source inventory, drinking water inventory, and I'll go into those in a moment. And RCI has been the prime contractor for this program for 10 years. And with Beck Environmental, we're helping with some of the outreach. So we've gone to all of the communities throughout Nye County to kind of let them know that we're doing this plan update. But also we want to leverage our involvement in other programs that we have throughout Nye County. Beck has a lot of programs that we're working on. We have a brownfields program. We work with the Public Works. So just to have a well-rounded, water quality effort throughout the county. Next. Thanks. So we have this plan. It's, 12 years old, 13 years old at this point. And, it's time to get it updated. So this is kind of the outline of what we do. So the first thing that we do is coordination with the local communities. So we get to check that off our list because we've been to all of the communities throughout Nye County, and I'll kind of touch on that in a moment. But what we do is we go and we present to the different boards in the districts, and we form localized teams with stakeholders and public water system operators so that they have a local voice on what they want to see in this plan. And then we'll do the drinking water source inventory and modeling. RCI does the technical assistance for the modeling. So what that looks like is, this plan is 12 years old. So a lot of new wells have been drilled. Some things have gone offline. So we take a look at what's changed and make sure that's updated in the plan. And then we take a look at potential contaminant sources. So potential contaminant sources are contamination by man-made activities that occur on the surface that have the potential to migrate into the groundwater. So we take a look at those and their proximity to the drinking water sources. And then we do the source water protection areas. So we work with our localized teams to develop source water protection areas. And what the source water protection areas are, it's a area of land near a drinking water source where that area should be managed. The land use and activities should be managed in order to prevent contamination from occurring in that drinking water source. So the source water protection areas are non-regulatory areas. They're more of a tool to know what area of land we want to protect from contamination occurring into our drinking water. And then lastly, we have an action plan that we develop with our communities. So we develop different action items on how we want to see this plan carried out. And the action plan is great because those items are funded through NDEP through this program. And they can be carried out at any time. So it can be 10 years down the road. And we say, hey, Ethan, we want to carry out these, this action item. Can we do it? And they'll provide the funding. And there's really no time limit on when we can do that. Next. So like I said, Ali and I have done the tour of Nye County. We've been to all of these different boards and districts, and we've presented the plan update to them. We've had an overwhelming amount of support for the update. Everyone is really on board with this. So each one of these boards and districts has approved a motion to support the plan update, and in the process, we've gained a team, a localized team in each of these communities. So, that's anywhere from like the town managers, stakeholders, public water system operators. We have commissioners. So everyone's on board, and it's been really great. We've been meeting with everyone, and just getting that local input has been really important. So like I said, we get to check number one off our list. We've been through the local communities, we've formed our localized teams, and now we get to work with them to carry out the next steps of the plan. Next. And so, what do we need from you? What are the next steps here? So, once we have a final draft, we would love to have your review of the final draft and approval or adoption, if appropriate. And then once the plan is finalized and adopted, what we like to see is we don't want to see this plan sit on a shelf. We want to see it utilized. So the way that we can do that is the funding for the action items are free. They're funded through this program. So we would really love to see you all, but everyone throughout Nye County utilize those action items so that we can make this a living document. Thanks. Great. Any questions?
Yes. When you talk about funding, how much funding are we talking about?
Oops, sorry, Allie. Ethan Mason. Yes, so our program is very limited in funding just due to the fact that it's a smaller program and it's focused on preventing contamination prior to contamination happening. And as Benjamin Franklin says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That is the focus of this program, is ultimately to save money ahead of time, so that way Bureau of Corrective Action or water quality planning or some other bureau at DEP doesn't have to come back and spend millions upon millions of dollars to fix a contamination issue in your system. They can just leave it to us to address it ahead of time, inform the public, inform businesses, inform boards especially about the contamination, so that way they can address it appropriately at the site.
And you're in front of the regional planning for Pahrump. So as relates to our work here, how do you see that being a benefit or an asset for us?
Absolutely. So in the long run, we want to be able to save you money, just like everyone else. We don't want you to have to spend money where you don't need to spend money. And being the regional planning, you have a lot to do with how people view zoning as well as where they need to place businesses across this entire area. And so when it comes to actually identifying the best land use and where we can possibly have a better impact on our water supply, that's important just for you guys to have more knowledge and more information to make decisive decisions about and be able to understand where our water systems lie and what their priorities are.
No, I'm a big proponent of conservation, and that's in one of our master plan chapters. How does this relate to that?
How does this relate to that?
Yes.
Yes, conservation. So this is protecting water quality in the long run.
Good.
Do we have any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
For your time.
Moving on to item 9, continued from the October 9th, 2024 meeting for possible action, WV 24-15, public hearing, discussion, and deliberation on an application for a waiver of NCC 1704-950 Category 2 Site Development, NCC 1704-730 through 770 Development Standards, Parking, Paving, Landscaping, and Lighting, located at 3091 North David Street, Assessor's Parcel Number 027-38167, Never Forgotten Animal Society, Inc., property owner, Pat Lemming, applicant. This item is final action by the Pahrump Regional Planning Commission unless appealed to the Board of County Commissioners or as otherwise announced. Staff.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. At the 10/9/24 RPC meeting, the applicant requested a waiver from CAT 2 site development standards, parking, paving, landscaping, and lighting. This item was to allow the applicant adequate time to contact state agencies to address commercial OSDS system and commercial water rights. Upon review of the application, staff finds insufficient justification to recommend approval of this waiver. The CUP that was originally brought to the Regional Planning Commission at its October 12th, 2022 meeting was given special conditions that were not met for the CAT 2 site development plan within 6 months. And since then, the proposed commercial use of the commercial OSD system was never addressed either. So we don't feel that an additional waiver of additional standards can be upheld. Any questions that you may have from here?
Questions of staff?
Madam Chair, I have one. This is Debbie Hayden. I wasn't sure if I heard correctly that the OSD system that was not waived by NDOT, or that wasn't followed up on.
Madam Chair, could I address that? I think maybe some information didn't get into the staff report.
Absolutely.
So the OSDS is not, INDEP has weighed in on that, and they did say that it's not required at this time.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure if I heard correctly.
So the existing septic tank, they're going to allow that to continue to be used. When it gets to the point, if it ever fails, then they will have to then look at doing the OSDS. But for now, they can continue to use the existing septic tank.
Thank you very much
Okay.
for that
Thank you.
clarification.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
Director Osborne, so what is the issue that we're facing here? We're looking at paving, parking, and landscaping. Obviously, this is out in a remote area. This is off Bell Vista Road. What requirements does Pat need to do in order to get her project and keep Never Forgotten running? Where are we at? What's our status?
So the septic system, that's all that's settled. What remains is the paved parking lot for customers and employees, landscaping, and it says lighting, but I think they asked for a lighting waiver, but I don't think they're actually asking to have lighting that doesn't meet the code, if I understand their application. So really, it's the paving and the landscaping are the two issues.
Okay. This being in a rural area in Nye County in the town of Pahrump trying to conserve water, is there a way we could go ahead and waive landscaping at this particular place? Because to me, it's kind of futile. It's out in the middle of no man's land.
You can certainly waive anything that's in the application, the landscape and the paving.
Okay, the only thing that we have is that she has to comply with the handicap part. So there is going to have to be some kind of parking spot designated for handicap, close enough to the sidewalk so that a handicapped person can make entry, meeting the ADA compliance. Pat, do you have any comment on?
I'm gonna stop you. We haven't opened up for the applicant yet, so you don't get to ask the applicant questions yet.
Okay.
Okay?
So that's the only question that I have. Thank you.
Okay. Are you any more questions for staff? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to open it up to the applicant. State your name, spell your name for the record, please.
My name is Pat Lemming, L-E-M as in Mary, I-N-G. I'm the Executive Director of Never Forgotten Animal Society. We have been in the animal rescue business now for over 7 years. We have I don't know how to say it. We have processed, it's a poor term, and I apologize for that, over 5,200 animals in that time frame. As I would like to address Mr. O'Brien's concern about the handicap parking, if I may. It has been installed, and it has been installed to standards. The only thing that we're waiting on is we didn't know how to install the handicap parking sign itself because we don't know how high it's supposed to be, or we don't know the standards of that. I had placed a call into Kiana Medici of planning and asked for an update on what it's going to take to get that sign installed, but that is the only thing remaining on the handicap parking that we have not done.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Lemming. Anything else you want to add?
I happen to agree with Mr. O'Brien as far as the landscaping is concerned. We are in the middle of the desert. we meet the desert landscaping criteria, if you will, because we are in compliance with all of the desert landscaping around us. We have planted trees. We have done some landscaping out there. We're trying to build a dog park so that we can have dogs that can run in our yard. So we have done some of that. However, because of the water requirements, and I'm concerned about drought, all of that kind of stuff, it seems to me that it would be a waste of resources for everyone, including the county, for us to have to water landscaping that is not necessary for what we are and where we are at. We've also asked for a waiving of the parking, only because we are in such a rural area. The street that we are off of is a dirt road. The parking is already set up inside of our facility. We have a fenced, for any of you that haven't been out there, we have a fenced area. We have parking available inside the fenced area, and for any overflow, we have the North Acre that we also utilize for parking when necessary. So as far as paving the parking lot, it seems like it is ridiculous in the area that we are in to be the only paved parking area for, I don't know, pick a radius, half a mile and a mile. The closest parked paving is at Family Dollar on Leslie and Bella Vista. And it seems rather silly to have us do a paved parking lot when we're off of a dirt road and it serves no purpose. As far as the lighting, again, we are in the middle of nowhere. There's no one in our area at night. We would be overdeveloping the property by putting in these improvements for no purpose. And I'll leave it back to you.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Yes, this is Tim Bohannon. Now, you mentioned about the landscaping, I think in the staff finding in item number 3, that there was sufficient evidence provided that shows that that would be a financial hardship from a landscaping perspective, but you did put in trees, is what I thought I just heard you say.
When we first took possession of the property, it was my intention to put a dog park together. And so at my own expense, personally, I did implant some trees. And they are on an irrigation system that we have installed, but it's minimal, considering that I think only 5 of the trees survived. So it is a minimal tax on the water system that we have on the property.
Now, did I understand correctly that there's plans for shading as well?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
I understood you may have plans for shading when the dogs are outside during the middle of the summer.
We already have existing tarps and shade areas. It would be nice to be able to provide a tree or two, but at this particular moment in time, it's not financially feasible for us to do that.
And I agree with what you were saying, being very remote. I took a drive out there last night, after dark, intentionally, mainly because it was after the basketball game. But went out and took a look. Being on the dirt road, very clear. The lighting was adequate for that area at night. There was no noise from I can hear from the dogs. Nobody barking, no noise. It was quiet. I know the staff report mentions about the decibels and concerns of that nature, but I didn't hear any concerns when I was there. From a hardship, financial hardship, did you quantify how much that would be to do landscaping?
I did not, but I can tell you, I just got hit with a $9,000 vet bill for 3 weeks. I have I have significant expenses due for dental work on 15 dogs. I have just purchased my vaccines for the next 3 weeks at $5,000. So to say that it's a financial hardship would be an understatement.
And you said that you run about 5,200, you run 5,200 animals through over 7 years?
Between 2018 through today.
Okay. So basically showing that it's a good for the community.
If I can brag a little. I can't imagine Pahrump without us there. The shelter is overcrowded. 2 rescues have closed. We have the threat of another rescue being denied its request for a CUP. The need is horrendous. I'm on the front lines every day. I'm turning away 30, 40 dogs a day in some instances. I just got a call from Los Angeles asking me to take dogs from the fires, or animals from the fires, and I had to turn them down. I have the kennels available, but I had to turn them down because of tonight and the restraints that I'm under at this moment.
If I understand correctly, there is a limitation of 50 animals on site that are greater than 6 months old.
I have no idea where that number came from because I will never agree to a number. Because if you ask me right now, Pat, how many animals do you have? I would say, do you want to know at 8 o'clock this morning? Do you want to know at noon? Do you want to know at 5:15? Because the numbers fluctuate on a moment-by-moment basis. So I find it untenable to be constricted to a number of animals when it is so fluid all the time.
So you have a constant turnover. Basically, they're in for 5 to 7 days and then they're out too.
Well, for instance, we will be having an adoption event every third Saturday at Tractor Supply. We have an adoption event, and it's not uncommon for us to be able to adopt out anywhere from 8 to 15 animals at that event. We have events all over the place where we are adopting animals out. So it really depends upon what the event is going to be in that particular moment in time. So it's very difficult for us to say, how many animals do you have on site all the time? It could fluctuate. As I'm getting ready to move animals to Tractor Supply, I'm going to be taking 20 to 30 animals to Tractor Supply this weekend. So when do you want me to start counting? So it's really not in the community's best interest to try and tie me to a number, in that the need, the spontaneousness of what we are dealing with here on a moment-by-moment basis. If I have a dog that is injured and needs to have attention, am I going to turn it away because I happen to be at 50 animals that day? Answer's no. I will not do that. I will take care of the animal. So having a restricted number is in my world, nonsensical, because you're not really living up to what we're doing here, because it is so fluid, and it is fluid all the time.
Now, we had the issues a couple years ago in Amargosa Valley, and I think you all had to participate and help with that situation.
We
How do you
did.
make sure that doesn't happen to you?
Well, number one, I don't like picking up that much dog poop. So from my standpoint, not going to happen. But that was a county failure. That was not my failure. And I should not be painted with that brush because I was not there. I did not participate in it. I was contacted and asked for advice on what I would do. It was ignored. And as a consequence, we have the Caucasian Shepherd issue that went out of control. That's not my fault. I should not be painted with that brush.
Madam Commissioner, if I can, just for clarification, the limitation on the 50 animals or 50 dogs was actually the first special condition of approval that was on the CUP that was brought in in October. So that was even in the staff report as submitted, and which was read in the meeting as well, as well as the when Commissioner Lee did ask, do you agree and do you approve? That was in the minutes as well.
May I respond?
And that's actually a rather standard condition. I understand your point, Ms. Lemming. I don't think that we, at this point, since we haven't even gotten to public comment and some other things, I'm not sure that we want to belabor the point just yet about how many animals or what the special conditions are when we have some other discussion that has to happen. I think that one thing that before I open public comment, if you're done with most of your presentation, I want to remind the other commissioners that, as our district attorney has told us before, if we are going to have alternate findings, we need to make sure that that they are substantial and meaningful. Otherwise, anyway, that was my comment. So,
If I may?
yes, ma'am.
To quote this county standards on landscaping, if you'll give me just a moment to find it. Apologize for the delay. Let me go on to another point. In policy number 2 of the county standards, it says that a project should be to promote innovative development standards that enhance the community through high-quality projects, diversified and improved economic potential. I think we meet all of those standards in that when we moved into the neighborhood, it was very derelict, very rundown, and since we have moved onto the property, we have increased those standards to, I think, a new high, to the betterment of the community. It was upon taking the property, we understood the challenges that we were going to be up against, and we made the determination that we were going to meet those challenges and try to go above and beyond what was required of us, and I think we have achieved that. So I think it's in the community's best interest that we be allowed to continue to use the property as we are using it, based upon all of the potential good things that we have accomplished through our years being there. The property is now available to do far more than what most rescues can do in any community that I've been into. We have implemented and designed outside kennels that the animals have access to that are not available even at the county shelter. We have instituted policies and procedures for the care and welfare of all these animals that is above and beyond the industry standard. We've been able to do all of that through the dedicated volunteers that have come forward and helped us in that to achieve that standard. I think we can continue to do that and to the betterment of the community. I don't think Pahrump wants 800 animals a year running at loose in the vicinity. With Tails and Nye County closing down, we are getting those calls to try and help with the cat overpopulation, the TNR programs and all of that. I'm not able at this moment to meet those requirements because I don't have the funding. But we are doing community spay and neuters. We are doing community medical assistant. We are doing community food bank. We have just met the needs of the community over and over and over again. And all we're asking from the county now is to allow us to continue to do that without bankrupting us and without putting on standards that are not required for the area that we are in.
We understand your point. We also have, those standards are in place for everybody, so, but we understand your point. You have anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, it's one of those things that when you're up in front of people, you can't find what you're looking for. And I'm in that position right now regarding the landscaping, because it says here in the code, and I can't find it for the life of me, that it needs to meet the desert standards, and we clearly meet that, as we do not, we have the same landscaping as every lot around us. We have the same landscaping as for at least a half a mile around us. And I'm just saying that to try and make it where we have to water plants and all that kind of stuff is overdevelopment of the area, and I think is not going to improve the property nor improve our ability to serve the community.
Excuse me, Chair, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Michelle Nelson, for the record. I would also like to, I think, to the applicant's point, is 1704 740A states that outdoor sculptures, shade structures, decorative hardscapes, and rock are encouraged. And I believe the applicant had mentioned the shade structures as far as perhaps type of landscaping for that area.
I just found the area that, and you're right, that's exactly what we were doing. It says here, the purpose of this section is to create visually attractive desert-themed, drought-tolerant landscapes along streets and commercial corridors. Provide shade across large expanses of pavement, provided landscaped areas around multi-family buildings, which we're not subject to. But we do meet the desert-themed, drought-tolerant landscape at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Lemming. So, may I open public comment now? Okay. With that, we're going to open public comment. Comments are, you have a 3-minute time limit. Please bear that in mind and keep comments pertinent to this item. You have one on the phone? Let's do the one on the phone, and then we'll do Mr. Turner.
Beth, your phone is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Beth Borisevich, Borysevich. First of all, I would like to commend Pat Lemming for 7 years of service to this community as a nonprofit. It is very, very difficult to run a nonprofit, asking for money and getting people to volunteer. So she has done an excellent job, and I really do commend her. What I'm concerned about is the amount of, barriers that you're putting on this nonprofit to landscape desert land. And if you look at it, you can pull it up right now online, and you can see there's acres and acres and acres and acres of desert landscaping. There's nothing out there. And to say that they have to put in parking and any kind of landscaping is really ridiculous. It's like, telling the settlers, when you come out here, you have to build a house. It's kind of ridiculous. And why is it that you put a limit on the number of animals that they can have? NRS gives no limit to animals. So I'm kind of concerned that you guys put all of these restrictions on this nonprofit, whereas when you talk about meadow waste, you kind of let it go. So, this is a service to our community that I think that we need to look at closely. We need to allow them to continue with their mission, maybe even lend them a hand and find some grants for them. They spay and neuter, they rescue dogs and cats and ducks and geese and hamsters, you name it. So I think this is a benefit to the community. I don't think we should punish them and tell them to go do some landscaping, put some bushes and trees out there, and put in some cement. They don't have enough money to do any of that, and I think it would bankrupt them. If we lose another rescue, we're going to have all these abandoned dogs out here just running around. So please just let her continue what she's doing, which is benefit the community and the animals, and drop these ridiculous restrictions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christy Sigmund, SIEG-MUND, Manager of Animal Services for Nye County. So Pat and I have worked together since 2019. I was a volunteer with her, and then for a year and a half or so before I was hired on here, I worked every day with her side by side. I can attest to that her money, her finances, 100% go into those animals. Whether it's medical, whether it's care, whether it's special food, whatever they need, that is where her finances go. And she even puts in her own money as well to make sure that they have the care that they need. So she mentioned that. I can attest that that is accurate, that is true. From a lighting standpoint, as a volunteer, I was there early in the morning. I was there sometimes at 8, 9 o'clock at night. And I never had any issues seeing as I was entering the property and leaving the property, so I never felt unsafe. And I felt I feel that that is a good point to make as someone who was there every single day. Paving. That road is dirt. When you go onto her property, I had a very low level car that made it perfectly fine with no issues. So I don't see it being a distraction or a potential danger to anybody's vehicle driving in and out. And in fact, since I've volunteered there, she's made even more improvements. I did drive by the other day. There is a paved handicap spot with a paved walkway to the door. She is listening, and that is something that I can also attest to. Pat and we have worked together tremendously. She continues to be a huge asset to Nye County and to our shelter. I can't imagine, unless the BOCC wants to give another couple $1 million to expand our shelter, not having her here and having that ally, because she truly is an ally. Her whole team are allies of the county and of these animals. We work together great. We communicate great. Even the tough conversations we're able to have. And we sure have had some of those too. But we are able to communicate. We're able to talk it through. We're able to find solutions. And I think that that's really important as you consider potentially waiving this requirement of hers so that she can continue to do what she does best, and that truly is take care of the animals.
Thank you, Ms. Sigmund.
I do have a question for animal control. Christy, hang on a second.
You have to wait.
Oh, I do. I will have a follow-up, so don't go too far away then.
Everybody has a 3-minute time limit, and we have to give them their say.
So when we're done with public comment,
he can't ask you right now, Ms. Sigmund. He has to wait.
All right, I'll come back.
Just the timing.
Good evening, Commissioners. Name's Walt Turner, Turner. First of all, thank you. And I'd like to point out that I understand, and whilst many do, sometimes it's brought across incorrectly. We know that you personally aren't putting those items on them to meet the code. That is, a previous code meant to service everyone, hence the waivers, and we know that a bunch of you are looking to assist and find out how to waive. And so hopefully some of these can bring ideas to your attention that might assist you in that matter, such as the parking. Being off of a dirt road, paving a certain area would actually cause more danger. When rocks get onto the asphalt, it does cause people to slip, especially handicapped when they go to use their items. Having gravel scattered amongst a parking lot. I manage a couple commercial properties where that has been requested to be swept and constantly upkept, so that could potentially cause additional danger. As for the hardship purpose, it is a non-for-profit, and pretty much anything that doesn't go to the dogs could be considered a hardship, especially with current county facilities enduring their own hardship with overpopulation, and this providing almost an auxiliary purpose. In fact, if there was some kind of classification as a auxiliary county facility that might be deep down in the code somewhere that might assist. Unsure of that, just thought of the idea. As for the landscaping, with it being desert landscaping and pretty much everything out there desert, could a classification be granted to what's already there, with maybe some basic pavers put around it? Taking a bush and putting a berm around it makes it a garden bush. It works in a lot of cases, saves money. But once again, as everyone speaks very passionately about this, because they are, and it is a passionate subject, we all love our puppies. And cats are okay too. But we do understand that the codes were written way before, I believe, anyone was on the board. It currently sits that they are meant for every situation, and sometimes some don't fit. So we appreciate your personal assistance in finding ways to make these waivers go through. If there are some that cannot make it and it must be appealed, please assist the applicant in knowing that the best route would be for appeal to a board that possibly could make a ruling. And that's my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Turner.
Last one. My name is Cheryl Hunter, Hunter, Cheryl with an S, and I've worked with Never Forgotten and Pat and the whole group for a lot of years. And I know that she is not paid. She does everything for free. I've seen her there at 7 o'clock in the morning, at 8, 9 o'clock at night, just trying to hold it all together. I've seen her drive to Amargosa and Beatty and Vegas all in one day, just trying to keep it all together. I know the board has worked strenuously to get yard art, decorative rock, all kinds of things established there to meet the landscaping criteria. I think if you drive around town and you look at Home Depot, Walmart, Smith's, Pizza Hut, they're all overgrown. They don't maintain. They don't go back and renew. And we're out in the middle of nowhere. There's nobody driving around looking to see if we have a pretty bush. We did put up the yard art. We're working on getting a mural for the side of the building just to make it more appealing to meet the criteria. So I beg of you, help her get through this hurdle.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter.
Karen Waldman, WALDMAN. I just have really one observation after watching people pouring out such wonderful support and emotion for this fabulous organization. If I had to choose between a puppy or a cat or any of these other animals she's rescuing and asphalt or desert landscaping, I know what my choice would be. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waldman.
Good evening, committee. Can you hear me? My name is Joe Ramos, and this is Sandra Ramos, and we're the managers of
Can you
Macon
spell your
Office
last name
Shop.
for the record, sir? Spell your last name for the record.
Ramos.
Thank you.
We had the pleasure of meeting Pat a few years ago in an ad that she asked for help at her thrift store, and my wife and I volunteered. And I would just like to express that the generosity of the people here who love animals donate all the stuff in our store to Pat's project and her vision. And it's a tremendous store. It's located on Dandelion next to Napa Auto Supply. And I'd like to invite anybody and all of you to come into our store and to see the generosity and the belief in Pat's vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramos.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is John Koenig, Koenig. I'd just like to bring one thing in the backup to your attention, because apparently people aren't really reading it. But on page 3, right before item number 3, it says, according to Public Works, David Street is dedicated and rejected for maintenance. So requiring pavement of the driveway and parking area other than the ADA seems pointless. So there's your reason. It's stupid to do it. You shouldn't be asking her to do it. It's too much money. So when I was commissioner last time, we were having the same discussion, and she's still fighting to save animals.
Thank you, Commissioner Koenig.
Hi, my name is Tina Bond, Kuglin, BOND-KUGLIN. I kind of have a question, or maybe a statement for the public to think about. This woman has been here over 7 years, but yet we have a board that's not employed by the state, not employed by Nye County. How do we allow a board that's not even voted into place to allow anyone to do anything or to stop anything? They're not even like an HOA. Homeowners get to vote for them. We didn't get to vote for these people who are trying to shut down our businesses. I think we need to think about it and get rid of this board and have them back to employees for Nevada.
Outbursts like that are not helpful to your cause, honestly. So please show respect to the people who are up to speak. Thank you.
Very well said, Chair. Deborah Strickland, STRICKLAND. Acting as your liaison tonight because Frank Carbone is no longer with you as a commissioner. Our needs are greater than our resources. And so it seems very simple that it's in your hands as a board to determine that there are ways and means to get around these particular regulations that all of us can live with. Okay? And unfortunately, there's disparaging comments that should not come to you. You are appointed by the county commissioners. You are serving for us in our stead so that you can make good decisions, bring them to us, and we either back you or we don't, depending on how that board feels. But the buck still stops with the elected, and you guys are appointed, and we appreciate what you do for us in our community. The rules we've written for code are here for a good reason. There are those that are not so good out there, and Never Forgotten is a good outfit. So I'm hoping you'll find a way. Thank you, board.
Thank you, Commissioner Strickland. I don't have anybody else on the phone, correct?
I have no callers on the phone.
With that, we're going to close public comment. Do we have any other discussion among the board?
Yes.
I'd like to ask a question. Go ahead.
I did have a question for animal control. Right. In relationship to the staff report, as I understand it, from an animal control perspective, you were asked if you would recommend. I think the answer was yes.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Yes. To elaborate, I cannot honestly say that Pat has, or Never Forgotten, has had no calls on her, because she has. But our animal control officers have gone out. They have found the majority of them unfounded. And the ones that did have slight concern, Pat fixes it immediately. Her and I do have really great communication. And so I don't see that changing. If there's any comfort in that, I hope that helps.
So if I understand correctly, you see a fair and reasonable and solid resolution plan if there's an issue that arises.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Mm-hmm.
My question's for legal, and it goes like this. If we put a waiver in for, let's say, 2 years or 1 year and revisit this issue, I'm sure Pat's making improvements. We've seen improvements. We've seen that she's complied to some of the regulations and she's got answers from the state. I really feel, and I agree, because of the unmaintained road on, I believe it's David, going into the property, that it's pointless to do anything as far as paving the lot. We did have the requirement for the ADA parking. She's complied with that. She's shown improvements since this matter started, I believe almost a year ago, before this board. And having that and seeing the benefit to this community, I see no reason other than to ask the question of legal, can we revisit this in a year or 2 years? As far as only the parking issue, I believe that desert landscaping is futile and the lighting is sufficient. If we revisit that, or we just let progress happen as it does, that Pat puts money into her business and continues to provide shade and has improvement plans for property, we just let it go until which time somewhere down the road that we have an issue with this. That's.
If you don't mind, Ms. Nelson, if you looked at what the special conditions of approval were, there is a 2-year time limit as part of those special conditions. So we can do that because that was already in our backup as, and if we approve special condition.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Any other discussion among the board?
Yes, this is Commissioner Hayden. I would like to thank Never Forgotten for what they do for the community. I appreciate Christy Sigmund speaking up because I don't think our county has millions of dollars to care for additional animals. And I keep laughing when people say that is out in the middle of nowhere. I live out there. I don't live very far from that, and I drive by her facility on a regular and continuous basis. So I have actually driven up to the property, seen it myself, and it is presentable and not out of character with the rest of the neighborhood. So I would rather personally see the money go to the animals. I don't think that it needs to go for the landscaping. And I think this is a valuable service to the community. And if she's got the handicap sign, she only needs to know exactly where to place it and how high and maybe what it needs to be affixed to. But other than that, I can see no reason not to grant the waiver. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Hayden.
I'm ready to entertain a motion.
If we're done with discussion, I'm ready to entertain a motion.
I'd like to go ahead and approve a waiver for parking, paving, landscaping, and lighting, and approve WV 2415 based upon the findings as outlined with the staff report, subject to the conditions that we had that we
You can't.
waive.
You have to base it on alternate findings because the findings in the staff report were to deny.
And I find this upon hardship and also on the fact that the parking and the landscaping do not conform with current standards that are there and subject to this property. It's kind of a roundabout way of doing it.
I'll make a second, but I'd like to add to that if I could, please.
That's a little unusual, but let's hear what your amendment sounds like.
Well, adding to that, the staff made a point of saying they were in agreement with the ability of using the septic as is.
No, they said that the state determined that. That is a state thing. That is not a county thing.
Contingent on that, so we can leave that as is. But I believe Commissioner Koenig hit it best, that this is a rural setting, and the paving and the landscaping is most appropriate for that type of setting. So making sure that we have that piece in that as well. We do have the hardship that in number 3, that the cost of landscaping by staff was agreed upon, that it was a hardship to do that. And I don't know if you fully mentioned that in your motion, John, but making sure that we have that comment, that item number 3 in the findings.
And you guys are making it very difficult for staff to follow this. So
Either Chair, we could either restate the motion, or if we could take a 5-minute break,
And then write it out.
I could work with Commissioner O'Brien to craft a motion.
I'd like that.
Let's take a break. I'm all for the break. So we're going to take a
Thank you.
5-minute recess. We will meet back here at
'Cause I wanna take care of it.
7:27.
Line muted.
All right, seeing how I have all of the commissioners
Mine
back.
ended.
I'm going to second this.
Thank you.
No, you were fine. So, are we ready to restart? All right. So,
we go, settle up.
Folks, if you can settle down, we're going to restart our meeting. And, oh no, they're settling down. All right. So at this time, we'll restart the Pahrump Regional Planning Commission meeting for January 15th and return to item WV 2415, where we were ready to hear a motion.
At this particular time, after conferring with legal, we're not the bad guys up here, believe it or not. We'd like to approve the waiver WV 24-15.
Sorry, Chair, Michelle Nelson for the record. Real quick, there was a motion and a second, so if we could just withdraw the second and withdraw the motion and start again.
You have to start. Go ahead. Withdraw.
I withdraw the second.
I'm going to withdraw my motion originally so that we have it based upon legal, okay?
So we have a nice, clean motion.
That it is. Approve the waiver, WV 24-15, based on alternative findings of this panel and board. Seeing that the property as it sits now conforms to current standards of the surrounding area. Recommendations of staff do not conform with, and the rules and laws of the code do not conform to this particular situation. Paving per staff report is pointless given current conditions of David not being maintained. Lighting does not conform to current neighborhood conditions as they stand. Landscaping, from testimony of the applicant and other parties that have come forward, we find that shade structures have been added, that improvements have been made to the property, and as far as the commercial septic system, the state has answered that question. So at this particular time, the remaining landscaping and rock conforms with NCC 1704-740A. That's my motion.
I will second that.
I'll call for the question, starting with Commissioner Simonek.
Aye.
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 Commissioner Hayden?
We didn't get Hayden.
Well, we're going to take that as approval and move on to item 10, which is continued from the November 13th to 2024 meeting for possible action, ZCMP 2411, public hearing, discussion, and deliberation on a request for a conforming zone change from VR20 Village Residential to RH 4.5 Rural Homestead to allow for the installation of a radio tower antenna on a vacant parcel of land located at 1331 South Barney Street, Pahrump, Nevada, assessor's parcel number 036-35154, Calvary Chapel, Pahrump Valley, Inc., owner, Brandon Beckham, agent, applicant. The Pahrump Regional Planning Commission makes a recommendation on this item. Final action by the Board of County Commissioners is scheduled for February 19th, 2025, or as otherwise announced. Continued from the November 13th, 2024 meeting for possible action, CU 2427, public hearing, discussion, and deliberation on a request for a conditional use permit to allow the installation of a radio tower antenna on a vacant parcel of land zoned RH 4.5 Rural Homestead located at 1331 South Barney Street, Pahrump, Nevada, assessor's parcel number 036-35154, Calvary Chapel, Pahrump Valley, Inc., owner Brandon Beckham, agent applicant. This item is final action by the Pahrump Regional Planning Commission unless appealed to the Board of County Commissioners or as otherwise announced. And for possible action, WV 2422, public hearing, discussion, and deliberation on a request to waive NCC 1704-215, RH 4.5 maximum building height of 35 feet to allow a radio tower antenna to be built at 100 feet in height on a parcel located at 1331 South Barney Street, Pahrump, Nevada, assessors parcel number 036-35154, Calvary Chapel, Pahrump Valley, Inc., owner, Brandon Beckham, agent applicant. This item is final action by the Pahrump Regional Planning Commission unless appealed to the Board of County Commissioners or as otherwise announced. Staff.
Thank you. As you stated, the applicant is requesting approval of the proposed conforming zone change and conditional use permit in order to erect a 100-foot radio tower antenna on a vacant parcel of land owned by the Calvary Chapel. The proposed use is not listed as permissive or conditional in the RH 4.5 zoning district. However, Nye County Code 1704-215, subsection F, use is not listed as permissive or conditional. The zoning administrator may determine if the proposed use meets the purpose and intent of the district and require a CUP. In this instance, the Assistant Director, Mr. Osborne, reviewed the request under a zoning administrator's determination and required the applicant to submit a conditional use permit application. The applicant stated in their justification letter that on February 8th, 2024, the church was issued a low power FM or LPFM broadcast station construction permit by the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, in order to serve the Pahrump Valley by providing non-commercial radio services. According to the FCC, LPFM are authorized for non-commercial educational broadcasting only, no commercial operation, and to operate within an effective radiated power of 100 watts or less. Churches are one of the limited entity types that the FCC allows to operate an LPFM radio service. Upon review of the applications, staff finds that the requested zone change and conditional use permit comply with the requirements of Nye County Code Title 1704, and we find sufficient justification to recommend approval of the conditional use permit and the zone change. The applicant and agent are in the audience with any questions, and that concludes my staff report.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff?
Director Osborne. The only point that I see here is we did not see a location of the tower on the property. And my only concern is the fall of the tower, if it would fall. Have it not in any area where it would go across any county or town easements, and then have that as a stipulation in there? Or would that be taken care of underneath your site development? That's my question.
Well, it would go through site development. I thought there was a conceptual site plan. Is there not a conceptual?
There was, but it didn't locate the tower. It didn't come up on my printer.
Okay. Yeah, it's the very last page of your backup, and yeah, it's hard to see, but it's the dot in the southeast corner of the property.
And is that right where it says, there's also a mark that says 80 feet?
But it says proposed 100-foot guide tower. It's got, it shows a 10-foot, the 10-foot setback, which is I don't think that's the actual distance to the tower. Maybe the applicant could talk more about the actual, how far the tower is from the property lines, or how far it's proposed from the property lines.
No.
Okay, so then we'll hold that question for staff.
Yeah, not from what I have That's what I have here. I got it, thank you.
All right. Then with that, I'm going to open it up to the applicant. State your name, spell your name for the record, please.
My name is John Gundacker, Gundacker. I'm the lead pastor at Calvary Chapel, Pahrump Valley, and just want to thank you, board, for allowing me the opportunity to speak. It is, to your question, Mr. Bohannon, it is to our utmost to have the tower, or Mr. O'Brien, in the safest place possible. It's a 5-acre parcel. Our desire was to put it in the farthest distance in the back, but we were waiting to go through these processes before we sat down with Mr. Osborne and the county planning department in order to put the site development plan together to make sure that it met his requirements, because your concern was our concern too. We wanted to make sure it's going to be a cable-free, freestanding tower. It's not going to have cable extensions or anything like that. And so if you have any other further questions, please feel free.
Any other questions for the applicant?
It being a freestanding tower, and you're locating it in the rear of the property, my only concern would be is if somebody developed the properties around you, owning those properties, that would put them in the fall zone of your tower. So that would be my only concern. I, having run an FM station back in the days, a nonprofit,
Gotcha.
We were required by that local municipality to have a full 100 radius fall zone plus 5 feet. So that would be my recommendations to staff when they go ahead and do the site development for this.
And we're totally compliant with that, in total agreement, and want to do that.
Do you have anything else you would like to say, sir?
Not unless you guys had questions. You know, it's just going to be a non-profit radio station, commercial-free. We look forward to serving the community by giving community announcements and different events going on in the community. We're going to be playing contemporary Christian music and Bible teaching. There's no danger of any threat to physical health. The 100-watt antenna is equivalent to a 100-watt bulb in a house. The FCC doesn't even go out and monitor it because they don't see it as any danger whatsoever. We're going to make it as aesthetically pleasing to the eye as we can. Rather than putting a chain link fence around it, we're going to put a cinder block wall. We're going to encircle it with pine and cottonwood trees that grow tall to just, give it a nice curb appeal, if you will. So we're looking to do everything that we can to make it pleasing to the eye, as well as a blessing to the community and service to the community.
All right. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll open public comment on this item. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes.
I have a caller on the phone.
You have a caller on the phone? Let's take the gentleman at the podium first, and then we'll do the caller on the phone. State your name, spell your name. Can you make sure that your mic is on, sir? The little green light should be on.
My name is Frank Esposito, Esposito. My property adjoins their property, and I'm happy to have it there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Esposito.
Beth, your phone is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Beth Borisevich, Borsewich. Just wanted to point out that a 100-foot antenna is equivalent to a 10-story building. Not saying that that's bad, but in other communities where these have been installed, they actually end up being like location markers, saying, go over by the tower and you'll find us, down the road a half a mile. So that might be a good thing for the town. I was really impressed with his application because I asked like a bazillion questions. And after each question I asked, there was an answer. The thing is that I read up on this, the base of it could be between 4 and 10 feet in diameter. And also reading the application, it says that it's going to be a tower with guy wires. And guy wires is actually, from what I read, one of the best things you can do for this tower because of our wind. It will give it additional strength to not blow over because our winds can get really, really crazy, as everybody knows. I think this is really a good idea. I really am impressed by the application, and I think you guys should go ahead and approve it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Borisevich.
Good evening. My name is John Jimenez, and I have property adjacent to the property there.
Can you spell your last name for the record, please?
Jimenez, and I welcome the antenna, and I welcome what it'll do for our community.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jimenez. Okay, seeing no one else at the podium and no one on the phone, I'll close public comment at this time. Is there any more discussion among the board, or are we ready for a motion?
Well, this is Commissioner Hayden. I have a question, if I may. I just wonder, I think that the tower is a good idea. However, I just wonder if it becomes a novelty for youth in the community, will a black wall stop them from being able to get over it? That I would think that somebody young would be able to scale that. Is there any way to deter a thrill seeker from trying to climb up that tower?
We were going to work with the. I have to
Can you state your name and spell it again for the record, just so it's clear for our minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
John Gundaker, Gundacker. Our intention was to build the block wall as high as needed in order to keep people from being able to climb over it. We were thinking 10 to 12 feet high, and we were going to work with Mr. Osborne and the building department in making sure it met those. There was a mistake in the application where it was being used, it described guide wires, but that wasn't the intention, to have a solid base, freestanding tower. That would be approved through the FCC engineer when it comes to the final development site. So the FCC would approve the tower and make sure that it met all their requirements.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm ready to make a motion. I'm going to put them all together if it's allowed.
No, I believe we need to keep them separate.
Okay, separate.
So each one.
Actually, Chair, we could do the motion for A and then have one motion for B and C, because A is in approval to the Board of County Commissioners, but B and C would be final action by this board. We could do two separate motions.
Thank you.
Where would we put the conditions for site development to make sure that we have the 100-foot radius plus 5 feet?
Yeah, the site development is in there as a condition. I mean, if you wanted to specify that it would have to be 105 feet from all property lines, you could probably just go ahead and.
Which motion would we put that in legal? B? Okay, thank you. I'd like to move to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners, ZC MP 24-11, based upon the findings as outlined within the staff report, subject to the conditions stipulated in the report.
I second.
I'll call for the question, beginning with Commissioner Bohannon.
Bohannon's aye.
O'Brien, aye.
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 I'd like to make a motion.
Oh, wait a second. Commissioner Hayden? Okay, I guess we're not going to have her vote. We move on to your next motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve CU, conditional use permit 24-27, based upon the findings as outlined within the staff report, subject to the conditions stipulated in the report, with the addition of 105 feet from any property line.
I'll second.
were you going to include WV 2422, or are we taking that as a?
I'll go ahead and do that also.
Let me rescind my second.
Then I'll make a motion to approve WV 24-22 based upon the findings as outlined within the staff report, subject to the conditions stipulated within the report.
Bohan seconds.
Call for the question beginning with Commissioner Simonik.
Aye.
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 Okay. That item passes. We will move on to item 11, which is continued from our December 11th, 2024 meeting for possible action. CU 2445, public hearing, discussion, and deliberation on an application for a conditional use permit for an animal sanctuary on a 40-acre parcel zoned RH 9.5 located at 2380 North Corbin Street, Pahrump, Nevada, assessor parcel number 027-18124, Andrew Chu Investment Trust, property owner, Civil Wise agent applicant. This item is final action by the Pahrump Regional Planning Commission unless appealed to the Board of County Commissioners or as otherwise announced. Staff.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a request for an animal sanctuary. The property is zone RH 9.5, which allows for animal sanctuaries but requires a conditional use permit. The property is 40 acres in size. They have submitted a site plan, a conceptual site plan that's in the backup. They are the kennels that they're proposing basically have a limit of 30 animals, and so we've put that as one of the conditions, not to exceed 30 animals. They would have to go through the site development plan process and get that approved within 1 year. There's some other conditions listed. Other than that, staff recommendation is for approval, and be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? I have I think I have an applicant. State your name, spell your name for the record, please.
My name is Bill Cookston, Cookston. I'm with Civil Wise Services. I just wanted, before the owner comes up and talks, and maybe his board, wanted to do the one item that the owner has read and agrees to the special conditions of approval. And if there's any civil questions, I'll be here if you have to ask that.
Thank you, Mr. Cookston.
My name is Andrew Chu, CHIU. We're running a rescue for senior dogs. So some of you may remember that I spoke last May. We applied for a CUP for a 4-acre property that I own. At that hearing, there were concerns voiced by my neighbors and some committee members regarding the noise level of having that many dogs and the potential disruption it would cause. We were granted a 90-day reprieve to address the noise and to reconvene. I listened to those concerns, and I heard them, and I considered them valid. And so I began to look for a larger property with larger acreage. And I think I found it with this property. It's 40 acres. We've designed it so that the building housing the dogs will be as far away from any existing structures as possible. I watched a video from last month's hearing where a fellow neighbor voiced some concerns talking about the noise. He had valid questions. We are open to putting up noise barriers, both natural and artificial, to minimize the noise. We have run tests at the property. I brought my dogs out and we've run test barking, and we could not hear their barking at the perimeter of any of the neighbors. But regardless, we will still look into putting up trees along the fence and into looking into other noise reduction solutions. Other than the health and well-being of the dogs we're caring for, my number one priority is to ensure that we won't be a nuisance or a disturbance to my fellow neighbors. We're striving to be an asset to the neighborhood and the community, not a problem. There will be a 6-foot fence encircling the building so the dogs will get proper exercise, and it will also ensure that they will not encroach on my neighbors' properties. There will be on-site staff to care for them 24/7 and to take them to their individual enclosures in the evening. We will rely on donations and grants to sustain us financially, but I'm a business owner and I own real estate. I own a self-storage facility here in Pahrump, and I own several rental properties. I'm prepared to use my own personal funds to ensure that all the dogs don't lack that all the dogs will never lack adequate medical needs and general health care and food needs. I have the utmost respect for the community and my neighbors and will do everything possible to work with them and be thought of as a considerate neighbor and a valuable asset. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to open public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Ed Williams, Williams. I live at 2424 Cabo. I'm their next door neighbor. And no, I do not want that there. I'm 74 years old. I've had dogs all my life. I've got them all from rescue shelters. And nobody needs to tell me that you don't hear yapping and that carried on all the time. You do. I've been to several of them, not only in this state, in other states. Another thing, this is a neighborhood with none of your neighbors want this. There's people sitting here that will tell you the same thing. We do not want this in our neighborhood. This is a growing neighborhood. This is going to stop the growth of our neighborhood. This is going to devaluate the property because I don't care what anybody says, you wouldn't want it moving next door to you. Plain and simple. I've got nothing against the fellows here. They presented a beautiful thing. I don't want it. And I realize he has several businesses here and that. I'm also a tax-paying citizen. And I'd hate to, and I feel like I say hearing it, well, it just sucks to be you. Because this is not a good plan. There's land all over, but you want to stick it here, and I feel like it's just more of Las Vegas wishing their problems over on Pahrump. Plain and simple. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Good evening. My name is Walt Coover, Kuzer. I would like to speak in opposition to this CUP that basically imports dogs from Las Vegas. History. I have the 9.5-acre parcel on the corner of Blossom Ranch and Balzar Road. The corner of my lot touches the corner of the subject property. I'm very familiar with the subject property since I've been there 25 years now. The potential noise is a critical item. I want you to understand that it is really a very quiet neighborhood. I notice every single car, truck, or motorcycle passing on Blossom Ranch Road, and my house is 300 feet away from it. I also hear noisy traffic on Bella Vista Avenue. That is large trucks and motorcycle packs, and that's over 2,000 feet away. I even hear gunshots from the informal shooting range 3 miles away on West Bella Vista Avenue. When we get visitors from Las Vegas, they come here and they sit on the front patio in shock at how quiet it is. But besides the noise issue, my main concern is future growth of this sanctuary. not only on the initial 40 acres, but also on the adjacent 40-acre and 80-acre properties, as well as growth to other larger species of animals besides dogs. My well wound up very close to Blosser Ranch Road, and it's about 800 feet down gradient from the sanctuary kennel and its considerable dog feces. Also, again, residential growth would be not done adjacent to the sanctuary, and that, of course, will have an ultimate effect on our property value way more than the sanctuary itself. So, I understand the zoning ordinance permits both general domestic and commercial animal use, but can it really limit the uses to 30 dogs long term? I just don't know. I sat down and I read the zoning ordinance for the first time in many years. I thought they were coming from California. Anyway, the neighborhood is quiet. It doesn't need an animal sanctuary this close when there's so many other distant properties available. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kuzer.
Good evening, Board. My name is Tim Dahl, D-A-H-L. So nice to see some of you I haven't seen in almost 3 years now. And thank you for allowing me an opportunity to speak on this item. As you know, I've lived in Pahrump for about 26 years now. I've been in this neighborhood for 20. I'm about 320 feet away, so I was not given a notice for this. However, word travels fast in a small community, in a small neighborhood, so obviously I'm here to oppose this development. Just take a second to acknowledge this gentleman's desire to save animals, to protect animals that can't speak for themselves. That's the only thing that's not here tonight, to speak to us all so we can understand their perspective, but I can appreciate what he's trying to do. I believe that this will create a negative impact in our surrounding area for the following reasons. We've already spoke about the noise. The noise is, as Mr. Coover said, it's very easy to hear from great distances there. And when we hear an occasional coyote howling, it's from a great distance as well. So I'm worried that one of those dogs starts barking and the whole lot of them starts barking. I believe it's going to create flies, other rodents from the food and whatnot that will be available now on that property. The smell can't be good with feces and urine, even though it's going to be going into a new septic system. The traffic, there's about, you can't quote me on this because I don't have the big book anymore in front of me, but it's about 0.87 trips per dog that this facility is going to see. And as I went to his foundation's website out of Las Vegas, I see that he has over 100 dogs up for adoption right now. So if we think we're approving 30, I don't know what he's going to do with 70 other dogs, and he may just leave them there. I don't know, but I want you to know that he currently has 100 dogs up for adoption right now. The watchman's quarters that's significantly far distance away from where the kennels are going to be placed, it's all dirt, it's all gravel. We have to take into consideration that traveling back and forth on 40 acres is going to create a bunch of dust. The dust primarily comes out of the south in that neighborhood, which is going to bring everything to me, whether it's dust or smell or flies or rodents or what have you. So, you know, and here's a guy who means well, but is going to have a caretaker's facility on the property. And my point is just that he doesn't want to live here. So why should we have to live with that in our neighborhood?
Thank you very much, Mr. Dahl.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Bob Wanberg, N-N-B-E-R-G. I have the group Pahrump Justice for Animals, local and nationwide, and I'm an animal cruelty trial and victim advocate. I'm also a board director of this wonderful organization, Forever Nevada. The love that Forever Nevada has for these wonderful senior dogs is amazing, and it's badly needed here. They are hard to adopt, and many sadly are just euthanized because nobody wants them. I've lived in Pahrump for 20 years, and I've been involved in the mitigation of almost every cruelty and hoarding case here. I'm very familiar with Title VI and Title 17 of the Nye County Codes. I can assure you, as a board director for Forever Nevada, we will comply with the CUP and all Nye County ordinances. We are sensitive to any concerns of the community, and should an issue ever occur, we will immediately address it and rectify it. These sweet animals deserve a full quality life, just like our human seniors do. I would ask you to approve this wonderful organization. It's good for the community, it's good for the animals, and I've been out to this property 16 times, and there's nothing around it. You go all the way down Mesquite to the end where there's the 3 crosses up there, you turn right, it's 40 acres of just raw desert. There's no homes on top of these animals. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Weinberg.
Hello there, folks. My name's Carl with a K, Otrombo, O-T-R-A-M-B-O. And I live at 4892 West Blosser Ranch Road. And from my front shop, I see the old well house, and they've been out there doing work on the weekends already. And that, I'm an animal lover to the hilt, but that is just not a good location to put an animal sanctuary. It borders our neighbor Rebecca. She has 20 acres of land right butted up to him. She can't be here tonight because she has some health issues. Then Norm and Donna, they're right there. The shelter, yes, the noise, but also we're worried about drainage, because from my house, the base of the mountain is right there, Rebecca's property, and when we get rain, it comes straight down through that property, and it runs through Cabo and Alvin, and then down to Banovich and through a friend of mine's property in the back. So the concern is, you know, waste, feces, and then Corbin is just a dirt road. And it also goes with Cabo, and then there's another street. And they're all just one single lane roads. I run around on my Polaris Razor, and the traffic is going to be ridiculous. And the wind swirls, and it goes everywhere. So the dust and all that is a major concern. Along when it rains, the way the water runs down a mountain. So, yeah, I find it very noble that the man wants to put it, but that property is not the ideal place to put that sanctuary. You know, somebody with maybe a nice ranch and a horse, you know, great, but not a dog sanctuary. And then 40 acres for 30 dogs, it seems like there's a lot of land. That's a little over what, 1 point some odd acres per dog? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Virginia Berquist, B-E-R-Q-U-I-S-T. This is literally my backyard. I live at 2346 Balzer Street. When we had that flooding about 97 or 98, we've lived here 30 years. Our neighbors had horses and donkeys. When he was saying about the elevation there, All of that came to our yard when we had that 6 inches of rain in one day. 6-foot fences. I know that I talked to the people that live on the corner of Mesquite and Balzer, the second one back. They have 3 small children. I'm sorry, a 6-foot fence, if any of those dogs get out, not a good place to be. We moved out there because it's quiet. We like it to be quiet. When I worked at Floyd Elementary, there's a similar property over there that has a lot of dogs barking all day long, and especially at feeding time in the morning and in the evening. Yep, one starts barking and they're all barking. So I don't feel that this is a good place for an animal sanctuary for us either. Thank you.
My name is Olive Williams, Williams. I live on Cabo Street, the corner of Cabo Street and Blosser Ranch Road. This is right across the street from my property. And the excavating they've already done has caused a lot of dust and dirt. And I'm concerned about the noise, the flies, the runoff. Most of the people in this area have spent decades building up our property from just a raw piece of property. And we didn't choose to live in town with all the close amenities. We wanted to be rural. And all of our dogs have been rescues. I've got a dog right now at home that I'm leaving right now because she's home alone. And I don't have a problem with that, but I think that we need, as a community, we need to take care of our own animals before we let people start bringing Las Vegas's problems. The population here can't even accommodate the animals that we have up for adoption. So to bring more in here, I just think is not good for our neighborhood and not good for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Christy Sigmund, SIEGMUND, Manager, Animal Services. Andrew came to Pahrump about a year ago. Some of you may remember he had a conditional use permit or an ask for a Barney property. That's about when I met Andrew and I got to talking with him and his vision. So the senior sanctuary that he has envisioned is a positive thing for our community. Andrew has pulled animals from our Pahrump animal shelter, our senior animals. There were a lot of concerns that night at that RPC meeting when he spoke before, and I can tell you that since then, he has continued to make that Barney property better, and he listened to those concerns. So that is something that I respect Andrew a lot for, is if you have a concern, he will listen and he will act on it. So I'm sure he's listening to all of these concerns right now as well and thinking about ways that he can improve his property and make it better, because he did that for his Barney property. I was actually just out there a couple days ago, and he has soundproof walls. He has temperature controlled environments. He has rotations. The neighbor that was so frustrated with him and was angry here, they're friends now because they've worked together. So I can see Andrew continuing to do that with this property as well. I have been out to the property also, and I do know that there are houses around it, but the 40 acres is pretty large, and I know that he's only looking to develop a portion of it. That portion is also going to be where animals are housed, not necessarily for citizens and community members to come and adopt from animals there. That was something that we spoke about, because getting there is off the beaten path. It is dirt. I was also concerned about the dust and implications, negative implications on the community and the members around. I can tell you when I drove in, there was a house and it had some dogs barking. By the time that we got out to the property, I didn't even hear those dogs anymore. So that almost reassured my concern also for barking, because the space is out there. I say give Andrew a chance, because you are dealing with a man that is going to listen to the concerns. He is going to listen to your feedback, and he is going to make sure that solutions that are found can be compromised between everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sigmund.
Hi, my name is Christine Schaefer. I live at 2531 North Cabo.
Can you spell your last name for the record, please?
SCHAEFFER. I live at the big blue house that's there now. I have a major concern because I'm highly and severely contagious to dogs. I have a letter from my doctor. I'm also in the process of getting one from Mayo Clinic because I was hospitalized for 3 days because of it. It's about 50 feet from my front door. I'm right across the street from the property, which I'm extremely concerned because on health reasons, there's just no way. People, it's in the air. The proteins from the saliva, the proteins from the urine. And I thought when you're allergic to dogs, it's just the dandruff. It's not. It's the urine and it's the feces and the breath in the air. I can't be around dog parks. I can't be around dogs. I'll end up in the hospital like I did. I have a doctor's note speaking I'm severely allergic to dogs. I'm highly concerned also on the dust, but mostly for my health. It's all about my health, and I cannot be around dogs at all. I will end up in the hospital, and so I'm just concerned because it's right there. I will open my front door, and it's right there. What am I going to do? I've been on this property for 16 years. My house burnt down about 2 years ago. I got it rebuilt, brand new house, and now this. And I also own property out in Armagosa, 10 acres, me and my mother own, and there's a dog sanctuary next door. Awful. It is nothing but dog barking, urine smell. I mean, I can't even be around that. Been in the process of trying to sell that, but everybody seems to know it's the dog barking. Everybody says it's going to be contained, but it's not. They're animals. I love them dearly, but I can't be around them. So I don't know what this is going to make of me having such a severe allergy, and it literally right outside my front door. I mean, everybody's talking, 500 feet. I'm literally 100 feet. Right there, right in front of me, and the air blows and the wind blows severely in Pahrump. So what's going to happen to the urine? What's going to happen to me being outside? I mean, this can get pretty severe for me. So I don't know really how to handle this. And what do you do when this is and I hear it's on the back part of the property. It's going to be about, I don't know, the back part on Blosser Ranch. It's not going to be the upfront of the 40 acres. It's going to be in the back part, which is all these houses right here. And so I'm concerned. So I don't really know, but I am definitely going to get another letter from Mayo Clinic from this.
Thank you. That's your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Della Christie, Christie. I reside at 4893 Quail Run Road. I'm about a block northwest of the proposed property. I am not opposed to Mr. Chu and his project. I am not opposed to the support the community has for it. It's strictly the location. We currently are having a lot of problems with coyotes, even on the properties that are fenced. With our dog, I do not have dogs, but most of my neighbors do. They're jumping the fences, they're going under the fences. That's not the major part of my concern. It's the sound, it's the quality of the air, and the off-flow when there might be any flooding, where the flow goes into the other properties. And I am very familiar with other options in the county where this could be placed. And the one question I have that I have not seen the map for the property, but I would question where the ingress and egress is for vehicles for the proposal, and ask for your support in denying this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Ken Rowe, R-O-W-E, live at 2281 Balzar. Came here, my wife and I, 1992, looking for a lot to build on. And quickly we heard the common thing about be careful where you build. I think the word was, as the neighbors, there's no zoning. A neighbor, somebody down the street could, I think the phrase we always heard was, could put in a pig farm next to you. We thought, well, okay, we'll consider that where we build, and we'll take our chances. So a few years later, here comes zoning, a lot of concerns, but every assurance we were given is if you're in a residential area, don't worry about things like that happening. Most people kind of missed the part about, well, conditional use permits can change the layout of your neighborhood very quickly, and this is what we're finding here. So, okay, I looked at the backup material, and I'm reading no homes within 900 feet of our property. I think I read that 2, 3, 4 times. Then there's a plot, and there's a dotted area around it, 300-yard or 300-foot buffer. Inside that buffer zone, there's 5 houses. How does it be 900 feet? That's very disingenuous to be putting that in there when there's plenty of houses within 900 feet of somewhere on the property. Now, you could say, well, on this spot or that spot, it's a big property, but who knows? And my experience, what I've seen in Pahrump for the last 30-some years, is conditions cease to exist, but there's no enforcement of that. It takes almost an act of Congress to get somebody to be, either enforce the conditions or, close the business. So I don't know, it's a very worthy cause of shelter and all that, but, who knows what it's going to be in, 3, 4, 5 years, more dogs, more, problems, whatever. The other concern I have, living on Balzar, is we were relatively late in the paving of streets, and if you go by there after the weather we've had the last couple of years, that street is not going to be very good for traffic. And I don't know if unless you think all the traffic's coming off Bell Vista, which I doubt, because the majority of Pahrump people going there would turn and come up Mesquite. The very last street, which I think is Warren, is not paved, which would be the best access to their property. But who wants to drive down that? No, you'll take Balzar and then you'll turn on Quail Run and you'll be there. But traffic not going to do well for those streets up there. And some of them are even narrower than ours. And ours is in pretty bad condition now. And, we're not complaining. We have a Jeep. We can make it. But
And that's your time, sir.
okay. Anyway, we're obviously opposed to it. We hope you consider that. Thank you.
My name is Carol Cusimano, CaroleCusimano, and I oppose the sanctuary. It sounds like a great thing. My biggest concern is noise. You can go up there during the day and play that game, come up at night. Anybody who's lived in Pahrump for any length of time knows in the evening and during the night how quiet it can be here. And the mountains are literally right there. Any noise bounces off of it. I can hear coyotes coming down. I live on Quail Run. It's a block away from Blosser. You can hear those coyotes come down at night. They're in the mountains. It sounds like they're literally at your back door. I found them in my neighbor's yard. They jump her 6-foot fence. My concern is you've got that noise happening. I can live with it. That's nature. But having a sanctuary where you have dogs barking at night, nobody's going to be sleeping. And it's going to happen. During the day, there's other noises going on in the country. You've got people coming and going. At night, it's a whole nother sound. And that's going to be everybody's biggest problem. So I would appreciate you guys really thinking about what you've heard this evening from all the neighbors and their concerns. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marcelo Mateos, Mateos. I live across the property 4778 West Blossom Ranch. I don't know what that number 900 feet came from, but my front gate is 50 feet away from this property. And I can hear the coyotes, I can hear the blackbirds, I can hear people shooting in the mountain, the four-wheelers, and I like that. That's part of there. But 30 dogs, one dog start barking, it's a chain reaction. You have 30 dogs barking, you can actually hear
a dog barking from 2 miles away. So I don't believe that they tested dog barking there and you cannot hear at 200 feet, because I can hear a dog barking from 2 miles. I can hear my own dog barking. And those dogs are going to be barking. Our dogs, I have 2 dogs, they're going to start barking. It's not going to be a peaceful and quiet place anymore. And there's more than 50 houses there. It's not in the middle of nowhere, where we are people who pay taxes, hardworking people who live there in peace and a quiet place. And we want to keep it that way. I don't like this idea. I oppose to it. Thank you.
Do I have anyone on the phone?
I have no additional callers on the phone.
Then at this time, I will close public comment. Do we have any more discussion among the board?
Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dahl did supply a stack of, is it extra backup? And he does have copies, and we would like to see if we would accept it into.
We'll accept it into the record.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair. To accept additional backup, we'll need a motion to accept the additional backup.
Okay.
With a second and a vote.
Okay.
Then the backup would need to be distributed and also made available to the public. I would recommend then taking a short break so the public could also then view the backup.
I think the board kind of needs to get up and move around for a second anyway.
I'm going to make a motion to go ahead and accept the information into backup.
I'll second. Take it.
I'll start the vote with Commissioner Simonik.
Aye.
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 Okay, and with that, I'll let you distribute that, and I think that we'll take a 5-minute break and be back here at 8:32.
I'm sorry, Chair, about how many pages is the backup? 4 pages? Oh, okay. Maybe 10 minutes, Chair.
Absolutely, that'll give me time for, so at 8:38, we'll return. All right, we're ready to get restarted, folks. So if I can have everyone's attention, please. Quiet it down much quicker. Okay. So we will resume our discussion on CU-2445, and I believe we had some questions from the board.
I have an additional question to ask of our Nye County Animal Director, if they would come up and please answer the question. There is some clarification that I need. This is an enclosed, fully enclosed facility with soundproofing in the building structure and then also climate controlled. Is this correct?
That is correct. What Andrew and I have spoken about is a facility that is similar to the one that he has, which has a complete soundproof walls, mini splits so that it's temperature controlled, fans, fully enclosed. Animals obviously need to go outside and use the restroom and go in the runs. But as far as kennels that are permanently outside, no, that's not the plan that Andrew spoke with me. He could confirm that himself, but that was our discussion.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One other question. I understand that he's got a network of foster families and a network of contacts that might benefit Nye County as far as our animals. Now, can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So he already pulls some of our senior dogs, which have been a tremendous help for our shelter, which is currently overcrowded. Andrew Combs, what he has built his Forever Nevada platform on is fostering. And so we've already talked about how we can work together in the future, and Nye County and our shelter will have access to his network and to those fosters, which will absolutely help the situation that we're in right now, help get these animals into homes instead of into kennels, as well as his commitment financially to help with medical costs. So all of that is a positive from at least my perspective and the Nye County Animal Shelter.
Okay, and is my understanding that he currently has a 5-acre parcel here or in Nye County that he's operating?
So he does have a parcel off of Barney that has come before the RPC now. He is following all of Title VI and keeping his numbers under the regulations. And that barn in that facility, I mean, it's immaculate. It is absolutely gorgeous.
So we have no complaints, any neighbor issues?
We have not had any complaints from Animal Control or Animal Services regarding his property, not in the last 6 or 7 months. We did have one right about the time of the RPC meeting, but we went out and we spoke with him, and really it was an unfounded complaint, but he listened and there was some education moments.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Question, I'm not sure if this is going to be for you or for Director. What do we know what the square footage is of the structure?
I do not know.
That would be a question for staff.
I don't know that they've moved. I think that would be more a question for the applicant.
Possibly.
Is the applicant still here?
The applicant's still here. So, but do we have any more for Christy?
Not at this time. I have no more questions. She answered everything I had.
For clarification, the last page of the backup shows it has proposed 3,390 square feet.
All right, my question is for Director Osborne. Is there anything, I did not see anything in there for clarification as far as the commercial septic system and the effluent that would come from washing out the stalls, et cetera, and picking up after the dogs in the outdoor kennels, that being applied to the commercial system? Okay, and then the other question I have for you is going into the site. Is there any proposal or any recommendations that you can make to go ahead and mitigate said dust that people might be concerned about in the site development plan. Can we put that in as a condition?
Well, as far as the commercial septic system, that is a special condition of approval, number 8.
Right.
So they are required to obtain adequate water rights and the commercial OSDS system. As far as dust, that's when they go through the site development plan process, all of the parking, paved driveways and paved parking, those are all things that will get reviewed and addressed.
My question then would be is if we go ahead and put a condition in there for possible improvement on the street approaching, since it's not fully maintained and or chip sealed, and then also if we go ahead in the site development, put in for dust abatement provisions in driveways and pathways going between the caretaker and the actual site where the animals are kept. That would answer a question that was made by one of the public comment.
Yes, you could definitely add that as a condition of approval to require those improvements.
Then we'd have to have the applicant come up and we ask the question of the applicant. Would that be? Thank you. Mr. Chair, you've heard some of the comments made by the public, and I'm trying to address the comments made by the public and trying to ascertain whether or not you would be willing to go ahead and make improvements to the street going to it, i.e. chip seal or do some kind of improvement to abate dust, and then also a pathway from the caretaker facility to your actual kennel to make sure that there is no dust on the pathway to the facility, and that would answer 9 of 10 complaints that I heard.
Yes, I'm willing to. I also wanted to note that there will not be a lot of traffic.
I understand that.
Okay. It will not be open to the public. So the dogs will, if we need to show a dog to somebody, it will be taken from the facility to that person's place. The person won't be coming to the facility. So it will just be the caretakers on the property.
I understand that. I'm trying to answer and fulfill the arguments that were placed by the public. You're placing your facility in an area that has roughly about 50 homes within a quarter of a mile. That's from the aerial map that I saw. Now, given that, any additional traffic coming into the area is going to create dust. And if we could get a site development agreement to where you would help us take care of the street in the area going into your property so that there is no dust, that would answer, as I said, 9 of 10 complaints. And then further assurances, on a soundproof facility. I saw the pictures of your previous facility on the 5. That's phenomenal. These dogs are going to be living in the Taj Mahal. Oh, excuse me, Tonopah, I'm sorry. So I'm looking at trying to answer all of the people that are in the audience, okay? And if we could get these conditions agreed to, I have no problem in pushing this forward.
Bill Cookston, C-O-O-K-S-T-O-N. Just to clarify, the Barney, I believe, is chip sealed or paved. Is that correct? And the intent is for their driveway to come off of Barney, not, and the only thing I'm trying to mitigate is when you say improve the road. If we're talking about a public road, that's a very high cost.
I understand that. I'm not referring to the road. I'm referring to the long driveway that was proposed in your diagram here. And if it's gravel, there's going to be dust. But if we sit there and maybe chip seal it or put some kind of a sealant, dust abatement into the process to mitigate and put that as a condition of this, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I was just clarifying, I wanted to make sure it was driveway. When you mentioned road, that,
Right.
that can be a.
I understand that.
So now he's asking about the.
I guess I agree to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have an item I want to add as well. There were concerns expressed about having hundreds of dogs at the facility. Is there a maximum limit that you're looking at? You had 30 kennels today that you proposed. Are you looking to add beyond that? What's your upper limit?
No, the upper limit is 30, and like I said, we're taking in senior neglected dogs, and we try to find homes for them. If we can't, they're allowed to stay with us until we find them a home, but we don't plan on going over 30 dogs. And I wanted to add that, I've worked and volunteered at shelters for over 20 years, and these dogs will go into enclosures in the evening, and when they settle, they settle. And so I understand the concerns from some neighbors, but the noise level, it will not be the issue that they think it is in the evening. Once they settle, they settle.
Yeah, and I want to add this for us in the room just to make sure there's clarity. One of the special conditions is number 6. Applicant shall not exceed 30 dogs at the site at any one time. And you agree to that?
I agree to that.
You ready for motion?
I can also add, these are senior dogs. These are hospice dogs, right? I mean, they will bark, but it's not going to be like a 2-year-old dog barking, right?
I understand what you're saying.
Well,
I had a grand dog over Christmas was a talker, and the other one was silent. So I know what you're talking about.
And if approved, one of the special conditions is that he has 1 year to obtain Category 2 site development, water rights, etc. So we could very well see him back in a year. Is there any other discussion?
Ready to entertain a motion? I'm going to be
Ready for a motion.
I'm going to move to approve CU 2445 based upon the findings as outlined within the staff report, subject to the conditions stipulated in the report, with the following. The driveway and path should be dust treated and chip sealed. Assurances that all effluent coming from the kennels outside and inside go into a commercial septic system. And that is my motion. Okay, excuse me. I'm going to make, I'm after this motion is seconded, I'll answer your question. Okay.
Is there a second, Chair?
That's an excellent question. I haven't heard a second.
Need a second.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. I'll call for the question, beginning with Commissioner Bohannon.
Based on the conditions that this fits land use as appropriate, that you met the special condition agreement, or you plan to meet that special agreement, special condition agreement, O'Brien's aye.
O'Brien is aye.
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 Okay, now I'm going to answer your question, ma'am. We're abided.
Excuse me, Chair. Is Commissioner Hayden on the line?
Deborah, if you're online, can you please unmute your phone to record your vote?
And I say aye. This is Deborah Hayden, and I say aye.
Okay, I'm going to answer your question.
Commissioner Hayden.
This board has to follow Nevada revised statutes for every vote that we take up here. And we have to listen to the conditions. We have to look at the land, and is the land appropriate for the use? I cannot deny this person his application because he is meeting all of the conditions required by law. I cannot vote against anything or not make a recommendation because there is no legal reason under the NRS statute which I could vote no for. That is the reason for it. Now, I tried to get everybody in this audience, I took down all of your issues. And this man is willing to comply with those issues, those conditions. And what we need to do, excuse me.
Excuse me, Chair.
Excuse me.
Excuse me, Chair.
Outbursts from the audience are inappropriate. This is not a debate. Public comment on this item is closed.
Chair, this item is closed. The vote has been taken. I would recommend to move to the next item.
Yes, so.
Thank you. That answer.
All right, moving on to item 12. Okay, moving on to item 12 for possible action, TA 33, Bill 2025-01, a bill proposing to amend Nye County Code Title 17, Comprehensive Land Use Planning and Zoning by amending Chapter 1704 entitled Pahrump Regional Planning District relating to Section 1704-820, Manufactured Homes and Factory-Built Homes to allow for a waiver from the 10-year age restriction. Applicant Ronnie Murphy, the Pahrump Regional Planning Commission makes a recommendation on this item to the Board of County Commissioners. Staff?
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. This was actually sponsored by a member of the public. I believe he was in the audience earlier.
He's still here.
Am I blind? Oh, there he is. Hi. And he will be available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, if you made the proposal, would you please come and speak to your proposal? And so, state your name, spell your name for the record.
Ronnie Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y.
And explain what it is you would like to do, the change that you're requesting.
So we acquired a 2006 triple wide. It's a Karsten Clayton Homes. I don't know if you're interested to see pictures. We're not here for the waiver, but it's a really nice triple wide. So we thought we'd go down to the planning department and request a waiver to put it on 5 acres and give it to my daughter. And then we discovered that there's a 10-year rule and there's no means for a waiver. So we would like to request the ordinance at least allow planning department on a case-by-case basis to review. It's a shame that we couldn't set this house up. It's gorgeous. It's a nice house. And I mean, even HUD compliant homes last as long as a conventional house does, 30 to 50 years. So we just would like the planning department to have the opportunity on case by case to perhaps grant a waiver.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murphy. And I see that in the summary, it says that it changes the language to allow for a waiver. It doesn't grant it by right, but it does allow.
Gives them the opportunity to look at it and say, yeah, we could do a waiver, or no, we can't.
For clarification, the waiver would still have to come to the Regional Planning Commission.
Yes, understood. Thank you so much. Any other questions of the applicant?
The request is for a 10-year waiver and the home is a 2006?
No, the request is to
Oh,
remove the
case.
10-year, because the limit is 10 years. So it's to give a waiver outside of the 10 years.
Just amend the ordinance to allow the planning department the option of presenting a waiver.
Can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
Mr. Murphy, you were not the only one that has gone through this. I had a family that was on Vicky Ann that their home burned down. I had a double wide that was in perfectly good condition. I had to go before the town board and then the county commission, and they all toured the property that we were going to gift to this person that lost their home. And they came in and they said it was the most gorgeous home they'd ever seen. It had all brand new windows. It had brand new electrical in it. It was completely redone. And I had no need for it. This family had more of a need. It was a grandmother with 3 kids that she was caring for. And so with the process, it took me about 3.5 months to get it through. But they all agreed that this home deserved to get moved. And then we also got a trailer moving facility to go ahead and take this home to that location. So I'm all for this on a case-by-case basis, but I do not want to see the 10-year removed. I want to see an option put in there in the way it is written so that it is done on a case-by-case basis upon recommendation of planning department and also the code compliance. And I think that would be the way to go. That's my statement. And I agree with what you're trying to do.
And I believe that that's how it is stated
Worded,
in the draft that was provided in our backup. Okay, any other questions? So if there are no other questions, I'm going to open public comment on this item at this time. Do we have any on the phone?
Yes, she does have someone on the phone.
Okay.
Beth Borisevich, Borysevich. I'm fully in favor of this. As long as the place is inspected, it's within HUD guidelines, and it's a nice place, I don't see why we wouldn't want to bring in some sort of home that will instantly improve an area wherever it's put. I mean, it would be a benefit to the town. I mean, there's so many rundown places. This could potentially, this is a good idea. I think that we should allow it to be inspected, and I think you should add the amendment to the code so that it can be on a case-by-case basis. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Borisevich. I have no one else on the phone, correct, Celeste?
Correct.
Okay. Seeing no other public comment either on the phone or at the podium, I'll close public comment at this time and open it for either further discussion or a motion.
From a discussion standpoint, yeah, I see a lot of value in this. It gives more options, more ability to make decisions. It's not a forced decision, but it's an option to make the decision. I like that very much.
So can I get a motion?
I'm going to ask a question. So in our motion, before we do this, this would then go before the Board of County Commissioners to go ahead and to vote on this. So in my wording, I'm going to say I make a motion to go ahead and forward Bill 2025-01 as stated in the draft to the Board of County Commissioners for approval.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. I will start the vote with Commissioner Simonik.
Aye.
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 Commissioner Hayden?
Hayden says aye.
Thank
Aye.
you.
All right.
All right. Motion passes. Moving on to Item 13, for possible action, WV 2421, public hearing, discussion, and deliberation on an application for a waiver from NCC 1704-320C to allow a rear building setback of 5 feet where a minimum rear setback of 30 feet is required for a proposed Goodwill Donation Center retail store on property located at 540 South Nevada Highway 160, Pahrump, Nevada, Assessor's Parcel Number 038-26137, S&L Investment LLC, property owner, Andrew Jordan, Serenity Homes, applicant agent. This item is final action by the Pahrump Regional Planning Commission unless appealed to the Board of County Commissioners or as otherwise announced. Staff.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. This is an application for a waiver of Nye County Code 1704-320C to waive the minimum building setbacks for the property located at 540 South Highway, Nevada 160. The applicant is requesting to change the rear setback from 30 feet to 5 foot off the property line to ensure they can fit the building on the parcel with plenty of parking for the customers to have required per the county specs and the site development requirements. The property is located in a commercial lot that was created this year and located on the same parcel as the new Chipotle restaurant. The project is required to go through Cat 1 site development, where they will be required to meet all the county site development standards. Upon review of this application, staff does find sufficient justification to recommend approval of waiver 2421. As I mentioned before, this project still needs to go through Cat 1 site development, and all of the other stipulations will be covered there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Okay. Seeing none, do we have an applicant? State your name, spell your name for the record, please.
Andrew Jordan, Jordan.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about your project?
Yes, we are building a new Goodwill building, and we're asking to change setback from 5 foot from 30 foot, and just to create the additional parking we need for the county code for the size of the building Goodwill is asking for.
All right.
Any questions?
All right, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, no questions for the applicant. I'm going to open public comment.
Karen Waldman, W-A-L-D-M-A-N. I'm requesting this to be made part of the public record. The 5-foot setback seems extraordinarily small. How will that affect access to that part of the building if there was an emergency? Would people be trapped? Can emergency vehicles properly access this area without compromising their mission? That might not be the determined access point, but looking at the recent fires in California, can anyone really predict catastrophes or events that might happen that would create the need for a wider setback? When I was younger, our house had a narrow one-way alley that bordered on one side, separated by a fence that ran behind some businesses. When a robbery took place in one of the businesses and the criminals were cornered, a shootout occurred with bullets actually hitting our car that was parked in our driveway. The police cars were stuck, and the resulting action could have caused far more harm than some bullets lodged in our dashboard. I don't think setting precedents for reducing the setback from 30 feet to 5 feet is a can of worms you should open. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waldman. Anyone on the phone?
I have no callers on the phone.
With no callers on the phone and none in the chambers, I'm going to close public comment at this time. Is there any further discussion, or are we ready for a motion?
Madam Commissioner, to clarify, if you look at the site map, you can tell that rain dance is actually considered the rear setback or the rear property line. So that's where the 5 feet would be coming from. So the access is not going to be hindered. It's off of rain dance. There's a whole street between anything.
Thank you for the clarification.
Can I make a comment? In looking at this particular building and the way it's set up, If you take the Dairy Queen store and you go all the way through the Chinese restaurant and everything, that's set up exactly the same way. I went out and measured it. It's 7.5 feet. 7.5 feet to the easement. And that building was put in there, and we have no issues with that particular building. In looking at this, I've got to welcome new business to our community. I'm looking forward to it. I have no issues with the 5-foot setback as they proposed.
Chair, I did want to get clarification on something. I didn't hear any agreement to the standard conditions or the waiver of special conditions. Can we get that on record, please?
So, applicant, can I have you come back up for a moment, please? I have one question for you. So, if you can state your name and spell it again, please, Mr. Jordan, for the record, before I ask you this question.
Andrew Jordan, Jordan.
Have you read, do you understand, and do you agree with the if approved conditions as submitted by staff?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Let me go back up to the top here. It's a lot of pages.
Can I make a motion? Motion to approve WV-24-21 based upon the findings as outlined within the staff report and subjects to the conditions stipulated in this report.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'm going to call for the question beginning with Commissioner Bohannon.
Bohannon is aye.
O'Brien, aye.
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 Hayden says aye.
Perfect.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 14. For possible action, CU 2451, public hearing, discussion, and deliberation on an application for a conditional use permit to allow a commercial stable on a 4.56 acre parcel zoned RH 4.5 rural homestead located at 2220 East Heritage Drive, Pahrump, Nevada. Assessors parcel number 044511116. Tina Bond Kuglin and Roderick Kuglin, property owners, applicants. This item is final action by the Pahrump Regional Planning Commission unless appealed to the Board of County Commissioners or as otherwise announced. Staff.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow for the operation of a commercial stable, a permissible use in the RH 4.5 zoning district with an approved CUP. Ms. Kugelin submitted a business license review application for an animal boarding facility on October 9th, 2024. The application was denied per Nye County Code 1704-215E, Rural Homestead Residential. Commercial stable requires an approved conditional use permit. A pre-application meeting is required prior to the submittal of a CUP or any other application that requires a public hearing. Ms. Kugelin met with staff November 6, 2024. During a pre-application meeting to discuss the CUP process. She was under the impression that the pre-application meeting was to obtain approval for her commercial stable. When she was told that the meeting was to address the CUP submittal, she argued that her state business license superseded the town of Pahrump requirement and did not agree with having to obtain a CUP for her proposed business. CU 2451 was received and placed on the January 15th, 2025 PRPC agenda. During the discovery process, while drafting the staff report, staff was advised that a co-compliance complaint was received December 26, 2024, showing a Facebook post that the commercial stable had begun business without an approved CUP or Town of Pahrump business license. Ms. Kuglin also advertises another unlicensed Town of Pahrump business on Nextdoor and Facebook, Tyrod Ranch Horseshoe Art. CC 24579, as a co-compliance case, was opened and a cease and desist notice was posted on the property the same day by a co-compliance officer advising Ms. Kuglin that she did not have approval to begin business at this location. Ms. Kuglin defaced the cease and desist notice with a letter-sized piece of paper that reads Tyrod Ranch Boarding Facility in clear violation of the International Property Maintenance Code, IPMC, 107.4, unauthorized tampering, which states that signs, tags, or seals posted or affixed by the code official shall not be mutilated, destroyed, or tampered with, or removed without authorization from the code official. Upon review, staff finds that the requested CUP does comply with Nye County Code Title 1704. However, staff finds sufficient justification to recommend denial of the application due to the applicant's blatant disregard for Town of Pahrump Ordinance, TOP 8-24, license required, and operating a commercial stable without an approved conditional use permit. Pursuant to Nye County Code 1704-070, Enforcement and Penalties, Section F, Withhold Permit Application, Number 1, the county may deny or withhold all permits, certificates, applications, or other forms of authorization on any land or structure or improvements upon a determination that there is an uncorrected violation of a provision of this code or of a condition or qualification of a permit, certificate, application, approval, or other authorization previously granted by the county. This enforcement provision shall apply regardless of whether the current owner or applicant is responsible for the violation. In the event that Ms. Kuglin stops conducting business illegally, removes the current borders at her facility, and comes into compliance with the above reference codes, she can then reapply for the CUP for the commercial stable. In the backup that was provided, there are photos and screenshots of the Facebook post of the cease and desist notice before, when it was posted by the code enforcement officer, and then again after it was defaced by Ms. Kuglin. Also, just want to let you know that Senior Code Compliance Officer Mark Gankars is actually in the audience, and he is familiar with this case as well. So if you'd like to ask him any questions, and as well, Ms. Kuglin is in the audience. That concludes my staff report.
Thank you very much, Ms. Medici. Questions for staff? Okay. So, no questions for staff. We will open it up to the applicant. You can state your name and spell your name for the record, please.
My name is Tina Bond, Kuglin, Kuglin.
I'm so sorry. Can you please spell the full name? So you have to spell the Bond as well as the Kuglin.
ABOND-KUGLIN.
Thank you. What would you like us to know?
This is a pack of 15 letters my property, my state business license, and me having a boarding facility. Actually, I wasn't prepared to say anything here today because I'm only here because you guys forced me. I already served the county with an affidavit of fact suing them over this for $122,000.
Excuse me,
Legal
once that's
counsel,
been,
is there a reason to pursue this matter when a
what I was
legal
gonna say.
counsel has been mentioned?
I mean,
In this
I-
lawsuit?
once she's declared that,
Yeah, to clarify, was there a lawsuit filed?
The planning department, along with the, whatever you guys are called, sorry, I'm having a brain fart right now, planning committee, it was served, it's called an affidavit of fact, it was served to Mark and his department.
I'm not familiar with an affidavit.
We actually are served at the county commissioner level. Chair is out of town, so I would have been served. I've been served nothing at the Board of County Commissioners.
I'm not quite sure what the applicant is referring to. It doesn't sound like an actual civil litigation has been filed. However, in the abundance of caution,
September,
what we should do is just
Table it.
continue this item.
Continue this
If
item?
we can continue
Yeah.
this until the next meeting.
the longer this
I
gets
can go ahead
continued,
and.
the bigger my
Ma'am,
lawsuit.
excuse me.
Excuse me,
Then
we-
what I can do is I can check with our litigation department and see if anything has been received by our office.
You know, I had over 20 people here on my behalf, but because this meeting has taken so long, half of them had to leave. I've followed all the procedures. Started with my state license. I actually hired a professional person to do it. She got my state license, my EIN number, my LLC, and filed my minutes within a day through the state. Then we started this process in October. She started it, and she was turned down. 3 times I had to apply, 3 times I had to upload. Yes, I did a meeting. I was supposed to have a Zoom meeting at 10 o'clock. That person did not show up until 10:30. I was under the assumptions that they were supposed to ask me questions on what I was doing, why I was doing, and she didn't. She just told me I had to do this. So in her opinion, then she denied me, and then I wrote a big long letter and submitted that, and then finally got approved. And again, had to upload all my stuff all over again that you guys already had on file because of the 1.5 years that you guys held me up in building. And I'm not the only boarding facility that you guys have held up for a 1.5 years.
Okay. Not to interrupt you, but none of what you're saying is actually pertinent to what we would be looking at tonight, but based upon what your statement and what our district attorney, Ms. Nelson, is telling us we should do, we're going to consider holding this and not hearing it because we need to find out if there is active litigation or not against the county.
Correct,
So that
Chair.
binds our hands and we can't take any action on your item.
Correct, Chair. If we could make a motion to
I'm going
continue
to-
until the February, what date is the February meeting, Celeste? February 15th meeting?
That can't be right.
No? February 12th.
I can believe.
Okay.
Valentine's Day is the 14th and it's a Friday, so I knew it couldn't be, it's not
I
Saturday.
mean, you can show up.
All right,
Well, before
Chair.
you table my stuff, I don't want to have to ask these people to all come back
You already
again.
made the statement.
But you already, unfortunately,
legal has
you made
advised
the
us.
statement
Okay.
and bound our hands right then.
I'm going to make a motion at this time to table CU 2451,
Excuse me, it'd be, to continue, not table.
continue to February 12th, CU 24-51 per legal counsel. Thank you.
I'll second.
Call for the motion beginning with Commissioner Simonek.
Aye.
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 I'm sorry,
Aye.
Chair, do we have public comment? We haven't.
Don't have to.
We,
Legal stopped
No,
us.
no, there still
Legal
needs to
stopped
be,
it immediately. It's
there
done.
still needs to be public comment. This was an action item, and you opened the item. Just reopen the item and ask for public comment.
All right. I will reopen CU 24-51 as read, as written,
As written. And ask for public
and
comment.
open public comment at this time.
When she made the declaration.
Good evening, all. My name is Cynthia Kirk, K-I-R-K. I board with Tina and Rod. That place, let me tell you, I've had my horse for about 4 years. This is my 3rd horse. I've boarded in Las Vegas at several places. I've boarded here at several places. Tina Rod's Ranch is the nicest place I have ever boarded at. And it's secure, it's well maintained. There's plenty of space, which you don't get in Las Vegas or, quite frankly, anywhere else in Pahrump. My horse is happy. It's secure. There are cameras everywhere, which was a big concern for me. at other places because you could just, at other stables, you could just walk on the property. And I was concerned that my horse might get tired. I've heard about situations like that in Pahrump where horses were stolen. So when I went there, I was like, instantly, when I walked on her property, I was like, this is the place for me. And I've been in some nice places, particularly in Las Vegas. Very nice. A lot of horses on very little property. There's almost 5 acres. You can't get that hardly anywhere. And so I just really wanted to be here. You know, I'm not sure about what everybody else does here, but I can tell you that her property, the environment there for the horses, they're very happy. My horse is just a great place. And as I said, I've owned horses since I was in my teens, and this is the nicest place that I've seen. And there's something should be said, especially in Pahrump. Some of the places I've seen where horses, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the amount of space that some of these horses have in their backyards, to me, it's just no question. You know, I found a great place here, and I hope that you really take this into consideration. That she and Rod provide such a nice environment for the horses, which is rare in Pahrump. I'll just be honest. I looked around a long time. It took me a while to find. I brought my horse back from Las Vegas to here, and I was a little skeptical. I was like, oh, you know, where am I going to find a nice place? But I wanted to say that.
Thank you, Ms. Kirk. That's your time.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have a caller on the phone.
Okay. Let's take Ms. Strickland, and then we'll do the caller on the phone, and then we'll do the next person. Okay?
Thank you, Chair. Deborah Strickland, Strickland. It's a sad thing that this has happened to the Tyrod Ranch. Tina and her husband Rod have been volunteers in building the BLM fence along with the county, side by side, working very hard to fix that fencing for the wild horses and burros. She's had wonderful relationships with everyone except for when it comes to this particular item. I'm sorry it's gone so bad, and I'm sorry that legal counsel has been chosen by her to pursue. And so I apologize that you're put in this position, but you have to take the recommendations of your deputy district attorney, and when litigation is mentioned, you need to stop. And so hopefully you guys have done everything as a planning department. You know, you put out the paperwork that's necessary so that they can get legal, and unfortunately there's just needs to be a common place for everyone to meet to make this happen. And so I'm disappointed that it had to go this way, but it was apparent that there has been a tension for a while. And so when we have rules, they have to be followed. The state does not get to give jurisdiction over our little county. So anyway, thank you, Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller on the phone, and then you'll follow them.
Beth, your phone is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Beth Borisevich, Borysevich. When I read this, I said, wow, this is real Pahrump business being done here. I mean, horses and farms and rural communities. And Tina is a really nice lady. She's very intelligent, and she does follow through. My concern is the code compliance that was posted. Was that posted by an official officer from the Sheriff's Department, or was it somebody out of the office of the Planning Department? That's one concern. The other concern is she could have not posted any of this on Facebook and gone, willy-nilly, but, she wanted to help out the animals in town. And it seems that we are just beating down the small business owner in our town and looking toward the larger conglomerates that want to come here and destroy us. So I think that you should just maybe give her $100 fine for doing what she did, find out who posted the notice on her property, and if she didn't know the rules, why didn't someone help her through the whole process? I mean, there should be no tension between anybody in the town offices and any resident in this town. We all should work together, but you do work for the people of this town. We are the ones that are paying the taxes. We are the ones that are providing your salary. And we look up to you to do the right thing. And so far, I'm kind of like a little leery thinking, are you? Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Borsovich. Can you make sure that the little green light is on so we know the mic is on?
I'm Catherine Michelini, and I agree with Borsovich.
And can you spell your last name for the record, please?
Chellini.
Thank you.
And I do know that it is difficult to get a boarding license. I do know that there's hoops to jump through. We're not told what those hoops are until after the fact. And I have been out to Tina's place at Tyrod Ranch, and it is immaculate. She has facilities for bathing the horses. She has corrals. She has arenas. She has stalls. She has everything healthy for these animals to be provided for. And we're in a big need right now with the fires in California and people needing to place their horses somewhere because they have nowhere else to go. And I just beg for you to let her help the community, which it brings in the community with what made Pahrump, which is the horses, which is the wild donkeys, which is all of that. You take that away and you make it all houses, we're not Pahrump, we're Vegas. Keep Pahrump. That's what makes the beauty of it. That's why everybody travels out here. That's why we get tourists. That's what brings in the money. This woman has jumped through countless hoops. She is a brave woman that has gone through hell and back to try to do the right thing. And it's not like she's committing these horrible crimes. She's just trying to provide a facility for these animals. And it's a clean facility, and it's a healthy one. And you want to take that away? I'm not for you. But I am for it to have this place. I had boarded horses too. And her property is way better than mine.
Thank you, Ms. Michelini.
Hi, my name is Janet Hunter, Hunter, and I am also a friend of Tina and Rod's. I've been to their facility. It's amazing. I'm a horse owner. I do keep my own horse at my own property, but her property is immaculate, fully fenced in, cameras, lights, training facility if you need to train your horse for a certain style, poles, wash basin, shade, indoor, outdoor stalls. I see so many horses standing in just sun and all over Pahrump. I'm only here a year and a half. And these horses are standing out, they're skin and bones, and there's no shade. She's doing it right. She's got a beautiful, beautiful property. She just needed to know the rules. She might not have played right at first, but if she knows the rules, she'll play right. She's a good person. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter.
My name is Sandra Carr, C-A-R-R. I don't have a dog in this fight. I've been here I moved here a year ago in October. I'm fortunate I have my own place for my own horse. I met Tina on Sunday. She gave us a tour of her place. It's a lovely place. I wish that I had been able, when I moved here from the Northwest, and I wish I'd been able to have a place like that up there when I was boarding. I just don't understand what is up with this town. Why? Even, I came from La land, liberal land, Oregon and Washington. You do not have to have a license to board horses up there. Why? Here in Pahrump, the only place, not even the rest of my county, why is Pahrump so hard on people with their horses? It doesn't make sense to me. She's doing stuff she shouldn't have to do. It's ridiculous what you guys are doing to her. And what the costs for it, there's not that much money in boarding horses. And I just don't understand. So I would welcome somebody explaining it to me. This isn't even really a town, so how can you get away with this? I don't understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carr.
Hello, my name is Barbara Nielsen, Nielson. I have known Tina and Rod for about 2.5 years now. I have had horses my whole life. I have boarded in Vegas for years. I ended up running my own facility in Vegas. And it is a pain in the butt. It's hard, it's tough. But to have a license out here is beyond me, because like everybody else said, you can go anywhere else and not need a license. I am lucky to have my own property, so I don't have to board any horses with her. But if I had no property, she'd be the one I'd want to board with. Everybody else said it. Her property is immaculate. It's gorgeous. I struggle with our livestock and having rodents and trying to keep them out and all this other stuff. You couldn't even find a rodent on her property. And I know that sounds crazy, because who can't find a rodent on their property? But the way she keeps her place clean, the way she feeds her animals, you can't even smell horse feces. You know, and that would be who I'd want to board with if I had to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Waldman, Waldman. So I understand the need to stop this because of the legal issue, but I did read through all of this, and I have to say, I'm just kind of perplexed that you would recommend denying the CUP for this commercial stable in the initial findings based on what appears to be just a lot of misunderstanding. If I purchased an existing property that boarded horses and did what I believe to be necessary to open my operation, doing the same type of business as the previous owner did, I would be completely stupefied by all the steps needed to just keep operating my boarding operation. It sounds like when the owner obtained her state of Nevada business license that it wasn't apparent that she needed to obtain more licenses and permits from the town of Pahrump, and can you blame her? Reading through all the arguments in the backup, it honestly sounds like there's a tone of vindictiveness from the planning department. And I wasn't present at any of the discussions or any of the dismissals of the notice or other feelings of injustice that seemed over the top that happened. But when I do read about all the positive aspects that staff points out about the business, it seems like there needs to be some thought put into why this is getting denied to begin with. If it's emotional or power plays, both of these things need to go away. This appears to be a very well-run facility, and if the concern about having licenses or permits outside the scope of what the owner thought they needed is the issue, I think you need an opportunity to find a compromise. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waldman. Sir, I think your microphone is off. There should be a little green light.
My name is Fred Kuglin, Kuglin. I'm the father of Rod, and I'm also the father of a daughter that I didn't have. I have 2 boys. I grew up on a farm, so I know a little bit about farming. My grandpa would be proud that my son and my daughter decided to follow a family tradition, a dairy farm. He started with nothing. They started with nothing. They came in the valley here in August of 2018. If you did, if you had a photo of the land about that time and compared it to a photo of today, which I'm sure you've got flyovers for your taxing of buildings and so forth, that you would see the remarkable change of the property. Over and above, the more important, if you would see what they do for the community. Last summer, at 115 degrees, Rod and Tina went out with a BLM several times and putting fence back up to control wild animals that people disregarded and drove through fences or cut them because they were cutting across and wanted to take a shortcut, and they helped the BLM restore them. Several times I know my son and my daughter went out and helped the local people rescue people up in the mountains that were stuck. They're trail riders. They have equipment that they help people out of need, and that's just the type of people that they are. So it's not just the land what they're doing for Pahrump. It's what they're doing for other people, and anyway, I ask you to reconsider. Yes, she gets high-strung at times, and yes, she gets frustrated, and that's part of the problem that she's in. But it wasn't because of a total disregard of the rules and regulations. Maybe she didn't do enough research, but at the same token, when she gets led one way and then it turns out different, it happens. So,
Thank you, Mr. Kuglin. That's your time.
thank you.
Okay, seeing no one else at the podium, do you have anyone else on the phone?
I have no additional callers on the phone.
Then I will close public comment at this time. And since we've already had a vote, we will move on to item 15. For possible action, CU 2453, public hearing, discussion, and deliberation on an application for a conditional use permit to allow a body art establishment on a .27 acre parcel zoned GC General Commercial located at 311 South Frontage Road, Suite 102, Pahrump, Nevada. Assessor's parcel number 038-23411. Nicholas Giordano, applicant. Carolyn Solzwimmer, Living Trust, owner. This item is final action by the Pahrump Regional Planning Commission unless appealed to the Board of County Commissioners or as otherwise announced. Staff.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. The applicant is requesting a CUP to allow for the operation of a body art establishment on a GC zoned parcel. Body art establishments are required to have an approved CUP prior to doing business in the Pahrump Regional Planning District. Upon review, staff finds the requested conditional use permit complies with Nye County Code Title 1704 and finds sufficient justification to recommend approval of the application. And the applicant is in the audience and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for staff? I know I have one for the applicant.
My name is Nick Giordano, Giordano, for the record. Thank you guys for having me. I know it's late and I appreciate your time. And Celeste, I appreciate how helpful you've been throughout the process. I'm better at art than I am at doing the things that I need to do to be here right now. And I will say that working with Celeste has been very relieving for me. She's been very patient, and so.
I just have one question for you, Mr. Giordano. Have you read, do you understand, and do you agree with the if approved conditions?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to open public comment at this time.
I have no callers on the phone.
Seeing no one at the podium and no one on the phone, I'm closing public comment, and we will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve CU 2453 based upon the findings as outlined within the staff report, subject to the conditions stipulated in the report.
Bohannon seconds.
I'll call for the vote, beginning with Commissioner Bohannon.
Bohannon's aye.
O'Brien, aye.
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 Hayden says aye.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Motion carries. Moving on. Item 16, future meetings, workshops, discussion, and direction concerning items for future meetings, workshops, set date, location, and time. And the only one I'm aware of is our PRPC meeting of February 12th, 2025, in these chambers at 6 p.m.
Sure, I've got something we may want to consider. We've heard some discussion tonight about how expensive some of the fees are. And I can't tell you specifically how much a boarding fee would be in the scenario that we just saw. It would be nice to see that.
Well,
what our fees are.
Not to interrupt you, but I hold a CUP for the winery. I believe I paid roughly $600 for it, so that should not be cost prohibitive. I got to do my own plans. They did not require me to have an engineered set. Fortunately, I can draft, but yes, I can draw to scale. And I have AutoCAD, so that's a huge benefit. So I know I'm a special case as far as that goes. And a business license, at least my renewal, is $75. I don't see either of those things as being cost prohibitive. So I think in fairness that when we talk about some of the costs, it's more the things like paving and some of the things that really are outside of our control for what those costs are going to be.
But I do get approached on this. This is one thing I get approached on. Our business costs are too high for doing business with Nye County, and that's something I want to make sure that we, I do. I get those.
Yeah, I understand maybe you get them. I'm just not understanding what costs are too high.
I do want to make a comment that all of our planning application fees are available on the Planning Department website, and they